6 o'clock. Good morning. Live from the Circus Sports at the Mid-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. Today, the Titans and 49ers have a joint practice in Santa Clara as they prepare for Thursday's 8 p.m. preseason game number 1 matchup. Practice begins around 12 o'clock Central and goes until 2:30. NFL news yesterday, the Cowboys and star defensive lineman Quinnen Williams agreed to terms on a 3-year, $105.9 million contract extension, making him one of the highest paid defensive linemen in the NFL. The deal includes $101 million guaranteed, with $63.35 million guaranteed at signing, and the $35.3 million annual average is the second highest among defensive tackles in the NFL. It's also the largest third contract ever for a defensive lineman in NFL history. And in Detroit, a couple injuries piling up as starting center Cade May suffered a fractured wrist in practice the other day. That'll keep him sidelined for an estimated 8 to 10 weeks. Also, running back Isaiah Pacheco suffered an MCL sprain, and he'll miss some time. But head coach Dan Campbell is not too concerned about the injury and should be expected to play week 1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Joint practice is here, and the preseason is heating up for your Tennessee Titans as the Titans head west, and we get ready for Titans and 49ers today on the practice field and Thursday on a football field in preseason. Ramon Will is live on your radios, your smart devices, your 104.5 The Zone app, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, where you can stream the show live. F&M Bank chat wide open for your comments. 615-737-1045 is our number. On this morning's show, my 5 players with the most to prove this week in San Francisco. There are some starters. There are some backups. There are some guys who need to make a statement to make a roster, and of course, Cam Ward is on the list. Steve Palazzolo joins the show at 8:20 this morning. He was at Titans practice last week, always does a great job breaking things down for Check the Mic and the 33rd team, and we look at the key matchups between the Titans and Niners as Ramon joins us a little later in the show from San Francisco. We will not create a hostile work environment and make him wake up at 3:30 in the morning to join us from San Francisco. It is Tuesday, August the 11th, as we begin with a big question of joint practices in San Francisco. I'm Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, our producer. What's up? Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
How we doing?
We are doing just fine. We're a little bit more rested today, so we're doing well.
Was the entire weekend not restful, or was it just Sunday night?
It's really been the last week.
You've just been living in a constant state of not sleeping
sometimes
for the past
sometimes
month
you wake
and a
up
half.
and you're like, did you really go to bed?
Well, right.
Yeah, because you just wake up in a couple hours anyways.
I have read recently that, and I try to convince myself of this when I have a night where I can't go to sleep. I've read recently that if you are just laying still and not sleeping, you are still recovering. Does it feel that way to you when you are not sleeping, you're just kind of like laying there?
No, because he's whining or whatever, so your brain's just rambling.
You're just waiting for the next time you've got to get up.
Exactly, yeah. But, it is what it is. We take turns. We try to take turns.
I was going to ask, have you guys split that 50-50? Is it 60-40, 70-30?
No, it's probably more her right now just because she's not back at work yet. She goes back to work next week. So when she does, she'll kind of feel like my work schedule.
Sure.
And then she'll be like, oh, okay, we need to take more turns because she's just going to be as tired as I am. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
It's very fair.
But yeah.
We will see how tired the Titans are today after traveling to San Francisco. Titans are in California. So is Ramon, who is going to join us a little bit later in the show. But today's the day. Things are starting to ramp up. We're in a preseason game week. And really, in a lot of ways, Justin, today is more the game than Thursday is, especially for starters who are going to get a lot of work today.
Yeah, you see a lot more of. I don't know if they're doing one-on-ones, but that's one of the. I know in the past years when training camp's been out here and they've done the joint practices. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching those one-on-ones and see how the starters prepare against each other in the battles that you face, because you're not going to see that probably on Thursday. You're probably not going to see that all preseason between all the joint practices that they're going to have. So this is going to be exciting today to see how they battle out and to see which kind of team wins the day.
My guess would be that with Robert Saleh's philosophy on one-on-ones needing to make football sense, as in, hey, like, let's not run TikTok routes with wide receivers against DBs. Like, let's do something within a football play in 7-on-7 and things of that nature. And then also just the injury prevention part of one-on-ones for linemen. I would imagine, since Robert Saleh just came from this organization in San Francisco, they probably have the same philosophy on that he does.
It seems like it's going to be a little bit more schematic and in that kind of realm. So if you're doing offensive line play, it's not necessarily one-on-ones, but you may be doing a little bit of 5-on-5, and you're kind of running some rushing plays or pass block
right.
sets.
What they did not yesterday. What they did last week was they would line up all 5 members of an offensive line, but then only one guy on each side is going up against each other. So as soon as the ball is proverbially snapped, then that's when the one-on-one really begins. But I don't know, as injured as the 49ers are, I don't know if that's a very smart thing for either team to do.
Yeah, because Nick Bosa, he's injured again.
Well, he's still working his way back. I'm not sure he'd be fully practicing even if he was totally healthy. I think that's like a small complication of a process that was already going to be taking place anyway.
Oh.
Their defense, looking at it, is, and we're going to take a look at that in just a minute, their defense actually is pretty healthy, which is good news for Cam Ward, because it feels like the Titans' defense is not going to get nearly the same challenge in playing the 49ers, considering the injuries they have at wide receiver, than the Titans' offense is going to get in going up against Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and the young but talented San Francisco 49ers secondary.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite battles that I'm curious to see, is how the tight end group and the wide receiver group does battle against this, because that's been one of the Titans' just key groups in general in the past several years that they've just not really been very good at. I mean, it's just, you want to see how they fare against one of the top leagues. And I feel like the 49ers cornerback room, while they were a little bit injured last year and they're kind of young and developing,
very young,
they really showed out last year and very much proved themselves.
Well, I think especially considering they were miserable at sacking the quarterback. The 49ers were among the league's worst teams in getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So the fact that their defensive backs were not just totally atrocious without any kind of pass rush means exactly what you're saying. Like, it goes beyond the stat sheet. They were pretty good last year in the secondary. Diamador Lenore, a part of that. Renardo Green, Upton Stout, the starting 3 on the top line of their depth chart. But the big question for me today, regardless of who the defense is pretty simple. Can Cam Ward continue a hot streak at practice against a different color uniform? Thursday, Cam Ward at Titans training camp, 8 of 11 and a phenomenal red zone period. Friday, at the scrimmage, 23 of 30. This is all according to Jim Wyatt. 23 of 30, no turnovers, 3 scoring drives, and a touchdown. Sunday, 11 of 21, another really good red zone period that Jim Wyatt called a strike zone period. And at one point, he went 5 of 7 in that part of practice. Carnell Tate with 3 touchdowns. In those 3 days combined, according to Jim Wyatt, senior writer and editor of TennesseeTitans.com, Cam Ward has gone 42 of 62, if my math is correct, and I believe that it is. 68% completion percentage. I know that part's correct. And no turnovers. Justin, have things gone on long enough with Cam Ward playing this well? Is 3 practices enough for you to say that Cam Ward is on a hot streak in Titans training camp?
I'm not going to say it's enough, because I won't ever say it's enough until we see it in a game action. I think on Thursday, if he continues this streak, continue with the no turnovers, continue building on this really good completion percentage because he had 58% in games last year of the season.
Well, this is 68%.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If he's got 68 in practice, what's it going to look like on a drive or two on Thursday? That's what I'm going to kind of base my sights on.
Interesting.
I like it. I'm not going to say I don't like it, but I want to see more and when it really matters, if that makes sense. So like today, if he continues it, it kind of grows a little bit more because this is your ultimate preparation in a game action for Thursday.
The only pushback I have on that is that I think today, for starters, is more the game than Thursday is.
True.
You are going to get a lot more complex looks from your opposition today than you are on Thursday.
That's a good point.
When the cameras are on, when the broadcast is on, when we're showing film to other teams of the league, I think schematically everything is so vanilla. In a preseason game, more so than it is in joint practice.
That's true, but how much do you put into the fact that you're putting on a uniform, you're playing under the lights, you're playing on TV?
Not much, to be honest with you.
Okay, because that's
for starters. I mean, granted, we're going to get to it. Like, there are a lot of players who I think have a ton to prove, and I think it's more trench players and guys who can't be fully physical and tackle guys to the ground in practice. Those are the players that I think preseason is most important for.
Sure.
Like Fernando Carmona has a massive opportunity on Thursday night in Santa Clara to take another step forward towards being the Titans starting right guard.
Sure.
Like that's the kind of player I think Thursday is more about. I think today is really big for Cam Ward to continue this trend of upward trajectory that he's on against a defense that's not otherworldly, but it's also not bad.
Yeah.
And with a new defensive coordinator, because we stole their defensive coordinator.
Sometimes you just want to see it against players that are not your own players.
100%. That's why I think today is so critical for Cam.
So let's not call it. We can call it a hot streak, but let's just kind of reserve our temptations here.
I think 3 practices is enough to say he's on a little bit of a hot streak. It's not something that's totally earth-shaking, right? Like we're not totally moving the goalposts on our expectations for Cam Ward this year. It's 1 week at the end of the day, and really it's half of a week, but it is progression. And it is a team that is installing more of the playbook. That process should be wrapping up by this point. And it's a quarterback who's starting to look more mature in his decision-making and in his accuracy. I am cautiously optimistic that Cam Ward is, as we speak, taking a step forward right now, and the last 3 practices are evidence that he's getting better in real time.
I would probably say cautiously optimistic is a much better word than hot streak.
I mean, short hot streak, 3 practices, which makes me cautiously optimistic is where I arrive here.
Right.
So in those 3 days, 42 of 62, 68% completion, no turnovers. The injury list for San Francisco yesterday, mostly offensive players. Now, Nick Bosa has missed 4 straight practices, like you mentioned. Even before being sidelined, he had been limited in practice, held out of team drills as he continues working his way back from last season's ACL injury. Mike Evans and Christian Kirk injured right now. Mike Evans has a quad injury. Christian Kirk has a calf injury. George Kittle still on the PUP list. He's working his way back from his Achilles injury that he suffered late last season. And Christian McCaffrey joined them as absent yesterday with tightness. Okay, tightness. We're not even specifying now which muscle is tight. It's just general. You know what? He's just tight.
He's just tight.
He's just tight. So only one of those players is on defense. You were getting somewhat of a full defense to see. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw side by side in the middle of the San Francisco defense. I think that's fascinating. How many chances can Cam Ward take? How many chances does he take to try to beat still maybe the best linebacker in football over the middle of the field in Fred Warner, who has that side-to-side athleticism, the safety traits that, of course, Robert Saleh utilized so much when he was the defensive coordinator in San Francisco. Dre Greenlaw was in Denver last year. He only played 386 snaps as he was also banged up for a lot of last season. Niners added depth along the defensive line. Texas Tech edge Romello Height was excellent for the Red Raiders last year. The Robin to David Bailey as the Batman on that defensive front. 20 sacks and quarterback hits on 350 pass rushing snaps, according to PFF. Alfred Collins, Michael Williams, massive second years for them as they look to prove themselves after pretty disappointing rookie campaigns. Maybe Collins less so than Williams, who was their first-round pick a season ago for San Francisco. He was hurt as well. I think this can be a good day for Carnell Tate. There's not a number one corner that jumps off the page to me when you look at San Francisco's secondary. They're solid across the board. There is not that number one lockdown corner for San Francisco. In a lot of ways, this secondary mirrors a little bit of what we have here, of just some good, solid players, some young guys looking to take a big step. Marcus Harris, Upton Stout, kind of some similarities there, but I think this can be a big day for Carnell Tate. And again, it's a test for him to see if he can continue the hot streak that he's been on more so since OTAs.
And Wan'Dale Robinson, too. I think this trio of wide receivers, or even duo, if you just want to stick with Carnell Tate and Wan'Dale Robinson, is one of the best duos that the Titans have had on the roster in a while, and how they performed in camp has got to make you feel excited, and how they can perform against, an opposite teams, not your own team's players, kind of can tell you and who can make the jump. That's what I'm kind of looking for.
How long until we make this a trio with Elikai Manor, though? I'm on this bandwagon. I'm the conductor of the bandwagon.
See, then it begs the question:
is there a band in the back of the bandwagon, or is just the wagon itself called a bandwagon? Sorry, go ahead.
Is it a wagon of bands?
These are the things I think of at 6:50 in the morning.
It makes you think of boom. Then it begs the question of what do you do with Calvin Ridley? Because 3 years ago when you brought him in, how would you feel 3 years ago saying in 3 years from now, Calvin Ridley is going to be your 3 or 4?
Well, but think about the injury he's coming off of. I mean, okay, I just still think it's going to take some time.
Would bring you to think that he's still the 2 or 3 here, but let's see his performance actually.
It's going to be interesting. I think that's one of the more interesting storylines to follow over the course of this entire season.
But I do agree with you, though, the trio, though.
Mm-hmm. 615-737-1045, our number live for the 1045 The Zone Circus Sports Studio. Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs. One big thing, the biggest headline right now for every AFC South training camp so far, there was a brand new one that came out yesterday about one AFC South team who I think is trending in the wrong direction on one side of the ball. We'll talk about that coming up next. Ramon Foster will join us later in the show. You got myself, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, Ramon Will, 1045 The Zone. Put Lee Company on your team and stay ahead of the game with home maintenance, repairs, and more. Hey, it's Will Bowling. For as little as $14 a month, become a Lee Company Plus member and receive 4 annual visits to your home for your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical systems. I'm telling you, this is worth it. Even better, Lee Company Plus members get a great deal. You receive 20% off on all repairs and enjoy priority service. Learn more online at leecompany.com/plus. Platinum Home Protection starts with a Lee Company Plus membership. And when something isn't working around the house and you're not exactly the handiest person around the house as well, you don't know how to fix anything, you're just going to make it worse. If you get in there and try to solve the problems, get Lee Company out there and save some money in the process. For as little as $14 a month, become a Lee Company Plus member and get those 4 annual visits to your home by going online to leecompany.com/plus. That's Lee Company, all you need. Preseason game week, and today, really kind of a game day for the Tennessee Titans. Joint practices with the San Francisco 49ers. It's 4:30 in the morning out there, so Ramon will join us at a less obscene hour in the day because he's got a lot to do. And we did not expect him nor ask him to be up at 4:30 in the morning local time, so he will join us around halftime of the show this morning. You can join us at 615-737-1045, us being Justin Hawkins, our producer, myself, Will Bowling. It's streaming live on 1045 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Selly hits us up and says, I could have missed it, but what is Coach Saleh's stance on starters like Cam playing on Thursday and in the early preseason games? Well, he is on the record earlier in the preseason, or off-season, I should say. This was a long time ago because this was in April that his starters are going to play. And so it remains to be seen how much we will see Cam. And obviously, he has not spoken about this since April. So nothing is 100%. Nothing is absolute there. But if he is still being consistent in what he said months ago, which he seemed to have pretty strong conviction about, I think we're going to see a lot of starters play on Thursday night. And that is something that appears to be very important for Robert Saleh.
How much do you like to see the starters play? For me, I like to see two drives. I like to see one to see how they start the game and see the second one on how they rebound.
It depends on the player. I mean, I don't think I need to see Jeffrey Simmons for more than one drive. That's just me. I think there's probably a list of 4 or 5 guys that one drive is probably plenty. But I think for Cam, I'd like to see 2 drives, yeah. Especially if the first drive is quick. Like, again, that's where it kind of becomes subject to discussion. If you have starters that go in, I think coaches sometimes view it more as how many plays can I get these guys versus how many drives. Because if you go 3 and out on either side of the ball, maybe then you come back to the sideline, all right, we'll give you one more just to be able to get a little bit of work in. Because that's a lot of preparation just to play 3 plays.
Yeah, for me, I just like to see, the different situationals that you're going to go through in a game, whether you start the game, okay, so you're going to be on your own 25 or 35, and then, see how that first drive goes. And the second time you may receive a punt, and then how do you go back from there? What did you do on the first drive? Did you score? Did you kick a field goal? Did you score a touchdown? Did you throw an interception? How do you get back and rebound? And then once you go through a couple of those situations, okay, let's live to fight another day now.
Sure. Ty on YouTube says 11 of 21 for Cam Ward on Sunday smacks hot streak out of the discussion. Let's spend more time on that. He's improved overall, but he doesn't look spectacular. I would push back on that a little bit. Considering how dominant the offense was on Sunday in a red zone period where Cam completed 5 of 7 passes. Again, I'm using stats to illustrate my point, but stats are not everything in practice as much as they are in game settings. And there was also a period where the offense was backed up on their own 2-yard line and was trying to get a first down. And the deck was kind of stacked against them a little bit on how much Cam could scramble, how much space he had in the pocket, what the defense was throwing at him. So I think there's a little bit more context than just, he was 11 of 21 on Sunday, and so there goes his hot streak. I think there's a little more to it than that. And overall, just looking at the entire body of work of 3 straight days, I would say the last 3 practices, Cam Ward has shown marked improvement than he did before that point, going through, Tuesday of last week at the first full week of Titans training camp. So that's where the hot streak thing comes to play. Yes, I'm giving numbers. No, the numbers aren't everything, especially in practice.
Well, that's just box score watching.
It is. I just, my feelings on this. You never know what the plan is and what the script really looks like between the offense and the defense. And I think coaches sometimes set offenses up to fail to see how guys respond and set defenses up to fail to see how guys respond. And they stack the deck against certain players, certain units, certain places on the field to see who can jump in the deep end of the pool and swim. And so, yeah, in a game setting, stats mean a little bit more when both teams are putting their best foot forward and trying to win the football game. A little bit different in practice. Yeah. I want to look at one big headline through every AFC South training camp. There is one in Indy that broke last night that I think is very interesting. But let's start here locally. The big headline to me, if I was summing up all of training camp in one headline in big, bold letters at the top of a newspaper, I would tell you that Cam to Carnell looks legit. Right now, for me, that is the big story from the 30,000-foot view of Titans training camp. Carnell Tate with 3 more touchdown receptions on Sunday. Again, the context around that, a couple of them in red zone periods. I think all 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, in a red zone period. But he did so against each of the Titans, on paper, starting corners. He got a touchdown over starting nickel Marcus Harris, made plays against Delonte Taylor and Cordell Flott as well. It feels to me like right now, small body of work, small sample size, he's not played a game yet. Carnell Tate in this Titans training camp, to me, looks like the best wide receiver on the roster. It's early. That may not always be the case, but right now, if I was giving a grade for every wide receiver that is playing for the Tennessee Titans right now, I am giving the highest overall grade to Carnell Tate. That, to me, between that and Cam Ward's progression, the two kind of go hand in hand. Cam to Carnell is the story of Titans training camp so far as we go into a preseason game week and joint practice today.
Now, I'm not a practice, so I can't really speak too much into this, but would you say that he's playing so far up to his top 4 status?
Absolutely, I would.
So what kind of expectations due to this would you put on him? Because there's not been a lot of rookies to have 1,000 yards in a Titans uniform.
I think 1,000 yards is very attainable for Carnell Tate. I do. I need to see more against other corners and other defenses before I tell you that that's going to happen. And even still, I mean, look, it's a long road ahead for Carnell Tate. And as he gains more respect and makes more plays, he's also going to be defended by more number 1 corners. Right. And the Sauce Gardners and Derek Stingleys of the world, that makes up 4/17. It's almost 25% of the entire schedule this season, just against 2 pretty good defenses in the AFC South. So that's kind of the catch-22 here. If he really is a wide receiver 1, he's going to be defended like a wide receiver 1, which could impact the box score in the box score scouting at the end of the season. It doesn't mean that he's not as good as a 1,000-yard receiver. It just means he's being defended like a 1,000-yard receiver.
See, honestly, that's what makes me more excited about this offense is now that you have a wide receiver 1 level caliber player that has to be guarded like a wide receiver 1 caliber player, that frees up so much on the back end of the Ridleys, the Iomanners, the Wan'Dale Robinsons, Chimere Dike, if he wants to go deep. It just makes this offense a little bit more excited. Plus, if you're going to make some one-handed grabs continuously, that makes fans a little bit more excited.
Absolutely.
That went viral a little bit on the weekend.
Absolutely, as it should. I think, too, how much more can you put teams in 2 safety looks to have to defend against the deep ball over the top? How much does Tony Pollard benefit?
True.
From Carnell Tate playing on the outside and Tajay Spears? 100%. So I think that's the story of camp so far. It doesn't guarantee anything in the season. I'm not going to be close to predicting and saying, you know what, he's 1,000 yards. I think it's attainable based on the talent that I'm seeing. But the question then becomes, is he playing himself into matchups with number 1 corners? Because I think that could also be the case. Yesterday, James Boyd of The Athletic with a report out of Indianapolis. This is a part of the story of Colts camp, but a new twist to it. This is interesting, and I need your medical expertise here, because he says that Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce received another PRP injection in his left ankle after undergoing left ankle surgery in March. This is the second time that he has received a PRP injection this offseason. And if I'm a Colts fan, I am very concerned.
This is a red flag.
About that wide receiving core having him already not on the field, now him getting another PRP injection. First of all, explain to me like I'm 5 what a PRP injection is.
So the name is platelet-rich plasma.
Yes, I did know that.
That is the injection.
Okay.
The goal of this injection is to promote healing of your tissues, of your bones, all the surrounding structures. So what's going on is it's not healing. The reason why you're doing this is because the injury that he suffered, which he had, I can't remember the exact surgery that he originally had to repair his ankle. I don't know if it was a bad sprain. I don't remember this to the fullest. But basically what's happened is, let's say it's his ligament that's not healing correctly. Well, these fibers, they're not coming back together. The scar tissue that's building around it, they're not forming a calcification to make it strong again. So now you have to have these PRP injections to, bring that platelet-rich plasma back into the blood and promote this healing, promote the tissue to kind of get stronger again. Well, if you're doing it a second time, that obviously means it didn't work the first time, and your body is not healing on its own very well. So this is a major red flag, because if he's going to have to continue to get these, how strong is his bodily structures, how his knees, his ankles.
Sure.
And the body works as a kinetic chain. When one bodily structure goes down, the other ones can be affected as well.
So does it change your opinion at all if I tell you that this second injection was in June?
When was the first one?
Before the surgery. So the first one was before he underwent what they're calling in this report, a cleanup surgery on his left ankle in March. The second one came after the procedure. He did not have a setback. We're just learning that this happened in June.
To me, it's a red flag.
Yeah, I think it still is too.
I think if you do it once, that's fine, because you're just trying to help, and maybe he needs to get back faster. Maybe he wants to get back for training camp or the first game of the season. But now having to do it a second time, obviously something is not going correctly as it's supposed to. And that's where the red flag comes.
He said in June, when he initially received a PRP injection, Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce, that he faced a 6 to 8 week recovery. So we're getting right around 6 to 8 weeks at this point. We are on probably the longer end of that right now. 4-year, $114 million receiver. The richest free agent receiver contract in the NFL. We'll see. We will see. I think that's going to be interesting to follow. But right now, in Indy, their depth chart of players healthy right now, have you seen this? At wide receiver?
Oh, yes.
Old friend Nick Westbrook-Akine is wide receiver 1 again.
That's wild.
Wide receiver 1 NWI. They are also joined, those Alec Pierce and NWI, by an injured Josh Downs, who is not practicing at the moment. But there is a chance he could actually practice today as they practice with the New England Patriots. Their other receivers, Ashton Doolin, Anthony Gould, Laquan Treadwell. To me, that's the story of Colts camp. Yes, he is. Former Ole Miss Rebel.
That's crazy.
That is the story right now of Colts camp. They are the walking wounded at wide receiver, and they are not deep there.
That is.
It's a really interesting year in Indy. And Daniel Jones has been fine, according to reports in training camp. He looks healthy. Did throw his second and third interceptions of camp yesterday, according to reports. But again, this is the illustration of what they are missing at wide receiver. NWI has a pass go off his fingertips straight to safety A.J. Halsey. And later in practice, Jonathan Taylor had a pass go through his hands, landing in the hands of safety Cam Bynum. I still think the Colts might have the biggest range of outcomes of any team in the AFC South this year. If they look like they did before Daniel Jones got hurt last year, they're a contender to win the AFC South. If he doesn't look like himself, and then all of a sudden he's looking around saying, oh no, I don't have my right tackle anymore. I don't have my wide receiver 2 anymore. My wide receiver 1 just got another injection on his ankle a couple months ago. He doesn't look like himself anymore. My slot receiver, he's been banged up in camp. Like Daniel Jones, if everything is right around him, including coach, because I think Shane Steichen is a pretty good offensive coach. I think he's proven that in a lot of different places. Daniel Jones is the ultimate, if everything is right, I'm good enough quarterback.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't think everything is right now in Indy.
The odds are stacked.
Minus run game and a couple of pieces of the offensive line and play caller, who I think is generally pretty good.
With this Alec Pierce injury and the second PRP injection, the Michael Pittman trade to the Steelers is, I think, really going to be a big impact on this offense.
You've got to feel really confident about making that move. You got to be really confident in Alec Pierce's health to take that gamble.
Yeah.
So Stephen Holder, ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Indianapolis Colts, he quoted a Schefter interview yesterday on McAfee where he said the Colts continue to say Alec Pierce will be back for the start of the season. He says, I think they're just being cautious right now. Stephen Holder then quotes that and says, at the risk of overanalyzing, here's what I would add. The fact that the Colts have so far resisted signing a veteran wide receiver, cough, Keenan Allen, cough, he says, tells me maybe this isn't yet a 5-alarm fire. But if there was legit doubt about Pierce, they would be screwed. They have taken a couple of gambles and continue to take gambles by not going to free agency and adding a body to fill out that wide receiver room. 615-737-1045. The two remaining teams of the AFC South are both looking at a similar type of big story. We're talking trenches, and we're talking about two teams that were at the top of the AFC South a season ago with similar questions on one side of the football. And we'll talk about that coming up next.
A day at the spa, the perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, or any occasion. Lavish and luxurious, yet affordable. A grand gesture, yet simple for you. The gift card from A Moment's Peace. Give her the gift she won't buy herself. An escape, a bit of luxury. Something special that shows more than just words. A gift from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall. Call 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com.
What's happening, good people? Let me go on and tell you while you're walking into your weekend what you need to be looking for. That is a truck. Yeah, Mid-10 Ford, they got you covered. They're going to take care of you. All you got to do is slide in there and let them know, hey, man, Big Slay told me. And they will look out for you. Go in there and holler at my guys, Trey, Matt. They're going to be right there to help you walk through the process of going to get your truck. And guess what? It's nothing that's going to be pressure, no high pressure, just low pressure approach, no gimmicks, no pushy sales tactics. That's not what they're about. They're about getting the job done and getting you comfortable and understanding exactly what you're getting into. It's a one-stop shop. If you need service, Mid-10 Ford, they got you covered. They are the ones you need to be looking for. When it comes to the right vehicle, they got you covered. Even a body shop, service, financing, sales, they got it, all of that. All you got to do is go to 1319 Foster Avenue. Visit mid10fordtrucks.com.
Coming up in hour 2 of Ramon and Will, a Vols headline that popped up on our show yesterday that might surprise you but shouldn't. We'll do that coming up here in 15 minutes. Your thoughts at 615-737-1045 on joint practices in the Titans or on life. F&M Bank chat open, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Been running through the big headlines of camp for every team in the AFC South this morning. And in Houston and Jacksonville, there are similar big block letters that at the top of a newspaper would describe the big story of both of those camps. And I'll start in Houston, where the offensive line remains a work in progress. This is the question for the Houston Texans. They legitimately, if they just get league average offense, for me, speaking for myself, are my favorite to win the AFC. Now, that's not a guarantee. It's not a given that they are going to get league average offense. They have a quarterback who from time to time likes to throw the ball to the other team. They have an offensive line that struggled in blocking for the run last season. They did bring in David Montgomery. But from left to right in their offensive line, there are major questions. They are either really young or really old. There's not that middle class that Ramon talks about a lot of players in their prime on their offensive line. Second-year left tackle Ariante Ursary steps into a starting role. Wyatt Teller, toward the end of his career, and now former Cleveland Brown, expected to start at left guard. Keelan Rutledge is a rookie who a couple years ago was playing for MTSU, transferred to Georgia Tech, where he became a very good draft prospect in the interior of the offensive line, one that we talked about quite a bit in the NFL draft process. Right guard Ed Ingram, who has allowed 5 sacks in each of the last 3 seasons. Heading into year 5, he allowed 11 sacks as a rookie. And Braden Smith, the former Indianapolis Colt, the kind of player who I view as league average. I think he is serviceable at right tackle. So they need more of those types of players. Dan Orlovsky put this out the other day. Their goal-to-go efficiency on offense, the Texans last year, 26th. Their red zone efficiency, 30th in the NFL, despite the fact that their defense allowed the lowest yardage output in the NFL at 270 yards per game since the 2009 Jets last season. Gave them a chance in the playoffs, but at some point, your offense has got to pick you up a little bit. And not only was the offense not picking them up in the postseason, they were knocking them down with the turnovers that C.J. Stroud was committing. For the first preseason game, D'Amico Ryans says that they will have a select group of guys who will not go out there and play. So key starters not expected to play for Houston against the LA Chargers on Thursday. But again, like the Titans, like the Jags, who we're going to talk about in a minute, this is a chance for that offensive line to start to prove itself a little bit. They held a practice Saturday night. C.J. Stroud struggled, and the run game was not good, according to ESPN reporter DJ BNMA. Defensive coordinator Matt Burke, after the practice, said the defense was okay. What does that say about your offense, then? If the run game is struggling, C.J. Stroud is struggling, and your defensive coordinator is like, yeah, our defense was fine. The offense must not be fine.
They just also have higher expectations for the defense.
Also very true. Also very true. Fascinating team, Super Bowl ceiling, and maybe wild card floor. I just think Houston's floor is so high, considering how good they are on defense.
I just don't know about the offense.
I don't either.
The way C.J. Stroud played last year did not give a lot of hope to see how he would play this year. Mm-hmm. And with the offensive line struggles, I do like the addition of David Montgomery. I think that's going to help them tremendously in the run game and a little bit in the pass game as well, just because he is a good blocker as well in the passing game. But I just don't know. I think Jacksonville kind of sneaks away and takes the AFC South again like they did last year, because they weren't expected to win it last year, and they ended up creeping in.
Well, Jacksonville has injuries on their offensive line. The big storyline right now. So they scrimmaged on Friday, and they lost multiple linemen in a room that was already really banged up. So right guard Patrick Macari did not participate. Right guard Walker Little and left guard Emmanuel Pregnon were both injured in their mock game on Friday and did not return. Left tackle Cole Van Lanen with a knee and offensive lineman Garrett DiGiorgio were already on the PUP list. Now, Trevor Lawrence was still okay, 15 of 29 in this scrimmage, 212 yards and 3 touchdowns. Parker Washington, LaQuinn Allen with a couple of those touchdowns. Travis Hunter played 14 snaps on defense and 7 on offense in this scrimmage. But they got issues on their offensive line as well. This is what I want to get across when we talk about the Titans offensive line, the struggles, the holes that have got to be filled here locally. It may not make you feel better, but Titans fans, you are not alone. You are not alone in the AFC South. You are not alone in the National Football League amongst fan bases who are stressed about their offensive lines, and Jacksonville is certainly in that boat right now as well.
And these are the instances that make you realize why the offensive line and the trenches are so important.
Well, it's why in April when we started to tell you guys, like, hey, this left tackle is going to be of interest, you're going to shake your heads and talk about how boring that is. In reality, it's what you have to do in order to build up a legitimate team the right way. You have to draft your tackles. That is one of the absolutes that I stand firm in, like long-term success-wise. You've got to be able to draft homegrown offensive linemen. That is one of the pillars of roster building that I truly believe in more than anything in this league. The big question I have for Jacksonville still, and we've talked about this a ton. I'll sound like a broken record if you've been listening to the show over the offseason. Jacksonville forced 31 turnovers last season. That was the second most of the NFL. The guy who led them in interceptions is gone, Devin Lloyd. No longer in the middle of that defense. Ventrell Miller stepping into the inside linebacker spot. Them replacing Devin Lloyd's elite production at inside linebacker is a major question for me on Jacksonville. And I just don't believe that turning teams over is a super predictive stat. There is an element of luck in you forcing a fumble and the ball falling into your hands as much as you do force fumbles and create picks and get hands and fingertips of the football and them falling into your hands. Yes, it's a skill. Yes, it's something you can coach. It's not totally luck. But 31 forced turnovers is a very big number. Yeah. And I think they're going to regress back to that mean a little bit this season without Devin Lloyd in the middle of their defense.
And they're not reflective year in and year out.
Correct. That's what I mean.
Because this year, instead of 31, they could have 13. They could totally flip it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about third down stops and, 3 and outs and how far they get into the red zone, what's the red zone efficiency and things like that.
I think this is a very interesting and sneaky good division this year. I do. I think any analysis you see from the national guy who tells you, oh, well, the Titans can get back quickly because the AFC South is an easy division to be competitive in. I don't think so anymore. 615-737-1045 is our number. Austin Price was on the show yesterday and gave a little nugget about the quarterback battle that I refuse to overreact to, yet will try to properly react to after this. Hour number 2, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins with you. Ramon and Will, 1045 The Zone.
7:02. Good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mid-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. Today, the Titans and 49ers have a joint practice in Santa Clara, California, as they prepare for Thursday's 8 p.m. preseason game number 1 matchup. Practice begins today at 12 o'clock Central and goes until about 2:30 p.m. NFL news yesterday, the Cowboys and star defensive lineman Quinnen Williams have agreed to terms on a 3-year, $105.9 million contract extension, making him one of the highest paid defensive linemen in the NFL. The deal includes $101 million guaranteed, with $63.35 million guaranteed at signing, and that $35.3 million annual average is the second highest among defensive tackles in the NFL. It's also the largest third contract ever for a defensive lineman in NFL history. And injuries, they're piling up for a couple Lions players. In Detroit, starting center Cade May suffered a fracture in his wrist the other day in practice. It'll keep him sidelined an estimated 8 to 10 weeks. Also, running back Isaiah Pacheco suffered an MCL sprain. He'll miss some time, but head coach Dan Campbell is not too concerned about the injury, as he should suit up for the Lions' Week 1 matchup. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Away we go into hour number 2 on your Tuesday morning. Ramon and Will on 104.5 The Zone and Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. 615-737-1045, our number. Coming up in 15 minutes, 5 players who can help themselves the most during preseason week 1. That's today at joint practice. That's Thursday night in Levi Stadium between Titans and 49ers. Which players have the most to prove this week? Cam Ward is on my list. He's not very high on my list, though, considering we may not see a ton of him on Thursday. Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, Ramon Foster will join us here in about an hour as we give him a little bit of time to wake up, get going. That was planned. It's not that he's just very late. It's that this show started at 4 in the morning Pacific time. And we, as a show, felt like it was very unnecessary to ask him to be up at 4 in the morning to do this radio program when he's got a very full day ahead. So
That would be awful.
Yeah, it would be a lot. That would be a lot. So, Tennessee quarterback battle gets really interesting this week. Someone I think is going to take the lead this week because we are entering scrimmage week for the Tennessee Volunteers. And reports of Faison Brandon just being a foregone conclusion to be the starting quarterback, I think are premature. Now, there is a world where Faison Brandon wins the starting job, is the player with the higher ceiling, which is an argument I think you could make. Again, we could also argue whether or not that really matters, considering the quarterbacks that have played in this offense over the past few years. But I think still, Faison Brandon, you could argue, is a safe bet. However, people have jumped the gun, and I'll say some national talking heads, I think, have jumped the gun on this. I think Tennessee fans have definitely jumped the gun on this and have crowned Faison Brandon as Tennessee's starting quarterback before we have really gotten to the point where the rubber truly meets the road. The rubber's on the road right now. We're driving. We're on the pathway towards crowning a starter, but we're about to hit the accelerator, and the on-ramp to the highway is this Saturday when Tennessee scrimmages for the first time, which they will do the following Saturday as well, August 22nd. And then from there, you would like to know who your starter is and enter game week type of preparations for Furman and for Georgia Tech. Austin Price was on the show yesterday, and we talked about where the quarterback battle currently stands. 1 week into fall camp, it's very early, but Austin Price remains consistent that this team looks bigger, stronger, and faster, and that includes George McIntyre.
the biggest thing I've learned is Tennessee is a much bigger, more physical team. I like where they're at on the defensive line. I think they're got a lot of quality depth on the offensive line. I like the players they have basically at every position. I don't feel like, there's any position where you're like, okay, I just don't think they're very good there. Now, I think there's some positions of mystery, like tight end's a mystery to me, right? Because there's not a lot of proven players at tight end. Even Ethan Davis has, struggled to stay healthy even early in fall camp, but overall. And so that's a position of mystery to me. And of course, quarterback's a position of mystery to everybody because you don't know kind of how this quarterback battle is going to play out. I know everybody had Faison penciled in, pegged in, whatever. But I think this is a true quarterback competition as we head into this first scrimmage coming up on Saturday.
Austin Price of AllQuest with us. How significant, Austin, is this weekend scrimmage for the quarterback battle? And how hard will it be for maybe whoever doesn't perform as well this weekend to climb up the hill again and respond after this thing? How much of a tone setter is this weekend?
I think it's a tone setter for the potential decision, later in fall camp. Absolutely will. I don't think it's a hill that you can't reclimb or climb back out of. I think, obviously, this is going to give someone a leg up as we head into the meat of this battle to see who Tennessee's starting quarterback is going to be. They do enough 11-on-11 work during practice that the coaches already are seeing, kind of who's managing and all that type of stuff. But absolutely, these two scrimmages will tell the tale in this thing. Both this Saturday and the following Saturday will, to me, determine who Josh Heupel takes as his starting quarterback. Again, everybody had Faison pegged all summer long because that was the narrative, right? And what did we say? George has to go out and win this thing. He has to go out and prove he can handle it all. And from all accounts, has had a nice, strong start to fall camp. Now, at the end of the day, how you do in these scrimmages will likely dictate whether you're the starting quarterback or not. So, the 11-on-11 work in practice matters, and it's a nice, appetizer, but the main course of this competition will be decided in scrimmage work this Saturday and the following Saturday.
That was Austin Price yesterday on the show. Typically, we have him on Tuesdays at 8:20 Central Time here. I know we have a lot of Knoxville listeners as well who tune in to hear him and Brent Hubbs. And you can download that conversation and every interview that we have wherever you download podcasts. This is the same Austin Price that Tennessee fans will know ignored the narrative on David Gabriel-George and was right all along that Tennessee was in a really good position for DGG to be a Vol, which, by the way, did you see yesterday? He totally shut down his recruitment. Locked in with Tennessee, which he also told us before that commitment. He said, you never say anything's 100%, but would be very surprising to see David Gabriel-George make a decision and then go back on that decision. So that's a quick aside. But this is why we partner with VolQuest. That's why we love the information and the analysis that VolQuest brings us. The narrative is just that, a narrative. That Faison Brandon is going to be Tennessee's starting quarterback for now. We may live in that world. There may be a world where Faison Brandon outperforms George McIntyre this weekend and next, and in a couple of weeks, we're playing audio of Josh Heupel telling the media that Faison Brandon's going to start week 1. That could very well happen. But if you dig deeper into the news, into the discussion and the buzz around Faison in the offseason, it was a lot of sources say Faison Brandon has put himself in position to maybe compete to potentially start week 1, maybe if the fates allow. No one has been speaking with any level of confidence. You have just seen a picture in a lot of these articles from the national folks, a picture of Faison Brandon and the latest rumblings on quarterback battles around the country. And I think the narrative has been, it's a safe bet to say that Faison Brandon has a good shot. I would say, Justin, at this point, I'm maybe 55% confident that Faison Brandon is the week 1 starter. In my opinion, a lot of what I have read is from folks who are more like 75% confident that Faison Brandon is the starter. And I say 55% because I think George McIntyre has got to be markedly better in order to win this battle. If all things are equal and it's 50-50, I believe Faison Brandon will be Tennessee's starting quarterback. I think if it's 55-45, then you're walking into George McIntyre territory. What I think is interesting, though, is this arm strength dialogue isn't the biggest deal in a Josh Heupel offense. So ESPN's Billy Tucker writes about the SEC freshman poised to make a big impact in 2026. And he writes at ESPN.com, Faison Brandon, the third-ranked pocket passer in 2026, must first beat out redshirt freshman George McIntyre for Tennessee's starting job, but his ceiling is significantly higher. His natural arm strength is a great fit for Josh Heupel's vertical offense and could unlock another gear for Tennessee. I have watched, honestly, 2 starting quarterbacks start for Tennessee who were the toolsy, athletic, big arm, high ceiling quarterbacks. And honestly, Justin, they might be the 2 worst starting quarterbacks of the Josh Heupel era at Tennessee. Joe Milton and Nico Iamaleava. Hendon Hooker is the best quarterback that Josh Heupel has had at Tennessee. I think that's inarguable, right?
I would say so. Yeah, 100%.
Hendon Hooker does not have the better arm strength than Joe Milton.
Would you not put him on the athletic prowess of?
Oh, he's very athletic. I'm not taking
like
anything
Nico
away. But the point is that in this offense, and I think especially the way this offense is built around Deshaun Bishop, because Deshaun Bishop is the most valuable player, I think, on the Tennessee offense.
And that's who Josh Heupel always wants to base his offense around anyway, is the run game.
Right.
He always wants to remind everybody of that.
To me, this quarterback role is less about arm strength and ceiling and more about, can you just hit the shots that are open? Can you be accurate? Can you place the ball downfield? To me, George McIntyre, in the high end of his evaluation, if he really hits and meets his ceiling as a quarterback, is kind of like a Hendon Hooker type playmaker. He's got escapability. He could improvise when the play breaks down. And what I will tell you, having called a lot of his games in high school, and again, I am a little biased here because I have watched him play a lot of high school football. And I believe in his ability. I believe in the player that he is that he is a fantastic deep ball thrower. That was his strength in high school, was his ability to pinpoint a deep pass over the top, some of which were to his future fellow Vol, Keyshawn Bowman, at Brentwood Academy, who is going to be a senior this upcoming season and is a 4-star wide receiver. I think that's where George can be really, really good. His accuracy downfield is what gives him a leg up, in my opinion, having not watched a lot of Faison Brandon in this battle.
And what's good for George is that he's got a year in the system, so he's got that leg to stand on. But for me, every time that we talk about the QB for Tennessee is when Austin says, just like in this audio clip that we just played, it's basically like Faison's got the starting job, quote unquote, but George has got to work for it. Right?
I don't hear it that way.
Fight for it.
I don't hear it that way. I don't think anybody's been given
He's
anything.
got to win the job. He said that George has to win the job.
But I think both guys have got to win the job.
But it just does it not sound like kind of phrasing it that way, that George McIntyre has to win the job, that Faison's kind of got this, like, we'll use your example, 55-45.
Yeah, for sure.
So Faison's
he's got to be better.
Right. So what I'm looking for, maybe you can expound on this a little bit.
Sure.
For Saturday is exactly what are you looking for in this practice or the scrimmage on Saturday and the next Saturday? How do you want George to separate himself if Faison's already got this little bit of a leg up just because of his athletic ability and what already he's doing nationally in terms of media headlines? I
think, because I want to be careful, I don't want to misquote Austin, but the way I took it was that the narratives are giving things to Faison Brandon. I don't think Josh Heupel or the staff has handed Faison Brandon anything. I think that's the difference in what you're saying and maybe what Austin was saying. Like, Faison Brandon's not been given QB1, and George isn't. It's not like George has to take back what's already been taken away from him. I think what George McIntyre has got to do is let it rip. Those are the three words we've heard from Austin Price and Brent Hubbs through this entire process, is that George can't play it safe. And I think from what I read and from what I heard in the spring, that was the knock on George. Holding the ball a little bit too long, taking some unnecessary sacks, and not just letting it rip downfield when a guy's streaking downfield. That's the MO in this offense. And that's what Joey Aguilar was so good at last season. It feels to me like Josh Heupel would rather, that's maybe a bit of a leap. I think Josh Heupel is good at taking a gunslinger that has the let it rip mentality and placing him in an offense that can take away an interception prone QB. Like, Hendon Hooker threw a lot of picks at Virginia Tech. He did not throw a lot of picks at Tennessee. A lot of the decisions, the way I understand this offense, are being taken out of your hands and being put in wide receivers' hands. The different routes that you run, the leverage you are reading from corners, some of the decision-making becomes shared decision-making between you and the wide receiver. So to me, that's why you see gunslinger types like Hendon at Virginia Tech coming over to Tennessee, and like Joey Aguilar not throwing as many picks when they get into the Tennessee offense. But now you are almost coaching maybe a different style of player that, from what we've heard, is maybe on the other end. A player that's not enough of a gunslinger yet, taking enough chances downfield and trying to be a little bit too safe. So that's where we're at this point. I think it's maybe a slight edge to Faison Brandon still, but I thought that was telling yesterday. Austin Price saying what he did about George starting well and having a good week to start Tennessee fall camp. It's early, and everything's going to really, really be graded in this scrimmage on Saturday because that's the way Josh Heupel likes to do it. So, full headline is not so fast, my friend.
Keep your powder dry.
On crowning a starter in Knoxville. Keep your powder dry is right. Coming up, 5 players who can help themselves the most in San Francisco, California for your Tennessee Titans after this. Who has the most to prove in Titan Blue this week in San Francisco? Ramon Will continues. Will Bowling and Justin Hawkins with you. Ramon Foster will join the discussion coming up in a half hour before joint practices start today. And Steve Palazzolo of Check the Mic and the 33rd team is coming up in a little under an hour at 8:20 as well. So, I think this is an interesting exercise in preseason because there are many different ways to say a player has a lot to prove in preseason. We could do this list with purely UDFAs and players that need to prove something this week in order to make the 53-man roster. We could just talk about position battles, players who are in the trenches, both literally and figuratively, to gain a new role, a starting job, a backup spot, you name it. Or there's just also the starters who know they're going to be starters and need to prove that they can do what they are doing now against a new team. So I have taken all of those different ways and angles to look at players with most to prove who can help themselves the most during preseason week one, and have kind of tried to bring it all together into what interests me the most this week when the Titans take on the 49ers. So my number 5 is Cam Ward, because I don't think that we're going to see a ton of Cam Ward on Thursday. I don't think that's a major conclusion to jump to. But if Robert Saleh is still consistent on what he believes with his players needing to play in preseason, he said that earlier in this offseason. He said it back during the OTAs and minicamp part of the offseason workouts as the head coach of the Titans. If that's still true, then Cam Ward's going to get some work in this week. And obviously today he's going to get a lot of work in. Question becomes, can Cam Ward continue what I believe is a hot streak at practice against a new defense? On Thursday, Cam Ward was 8 of 11 with an outstanding red zone period. On Friday in the scrimmage, I thought he was really good. 23 of 30, the stats, no turnovers, 3 scoring drives, including a touchdown throw to Gunnar Helm in the back of the end zone. Statistically, things don't jump out at you on Sunday. He was 11 of 21, but did have a great red zone period and went on a little bit of a run to Cardell Tate, where there were 3 touchdown passes thrown to the Titans' rookie, number 4 overall pick, wide receiver. If you combined the statistics from those 3 days, then Cam Ward is 42 of 62, completing 88, excuse me. I was looking at just the 8 of 11. 68% completion and no turnovers. You and I talked about this at the top of the show. I think that's enough to say he's on a hot streak. And let's see if it continues this week, and really specifically today, against a young but talented San Francisco 49ers defense, anchored in the middle at inside linebacker by maybe the best linebacker in this generation of inside linebackers named Fred Warner. So I think Cam Ward is on the list. I don't think that there is as much pressure on him because we know Cam Ward is the starting quarterback of this football team. Robert Saleh has said that as well. There is no quarterback competition. Cam Ward is quarterback 1. So what he can gain is more confidence. We can gain more confidence in him because he is sustaining his success against a new defense and a different system. So there is something that he can prove. There's a lot that he can prove, but this is not a make or break week for Cam Ward to the extent that it is for players that we're going to get to also on this list who are looking for new roles within this football team.
Yeah, I think confidence is the key word there. You just want to see his ability to make plays down the field. Can he find his open receivers? Can he make the smart plays and not turn the ball over? Things that you just want to continue the 68% of his completion percentage over the past couple of days. I'm not going to call it a hot streak, but we're going to see how much confidence and stability we can base over these training camp practices and doing against players that is not your own team and the color jerseys that you wear.
At what point would you say then that Cam Ward is on a hot streak?
Let's revisit this conversation tomorrow, right? Let's
just take one more practice.
Let's see how he does today against the 49ers. Earlier, I was thinking let's take it to the preseason game, but you made a good point that he's really not going to play a lot in the preseason. The play calling is going to be very vanilla, where today you're going to see a lot more thrown at you. You're going to see more of the actual play calls that you may see in an actual game in the regular season. So maybe today I'm going to kind of take my vantage point and scale it back to a day.
Sure.
Let's revisit this conversation tomorrow and see how he does after today.
Fair enough. I think that's extremely fair. Extremely fair. Next up on the list, I think there is another quarterback who can help himself even more than Cam Ward, and that is Will Levis. First opportunity to play somebody else for him as well. Since last year's shoulder injury, new system for him as well, new defense for him to go up against, and new film for Will Levis to put out there in a preseason game. If I'm guessing, I think Will Levis plays the most snaps of any Titans quarterback on Thursday night against the San Francisco 49ers. I think this is a huge first opportunity for him to recreate his image. And I think it's a big opportunity for the Titans to showcase him and potentially get something in return for Will on the trade market. If he is going to be a backup or a project quarterback for another football team in this league, it's got to start this week with film against a different defense.
He needs to find his confidence. So speaking of confidence for
does.
Cam Ward, Will Levis equally as much needs to find his confidence and know that if he wants to put it out there that he's one of the there's not 32 quarterbacks in the NFL that's better than him, then he's going to have to go out and prove that and not continue to make memes or things of the such of you got to put good tape out there, make smart decisions, and improve yourself. And that's what he's just not done to this point. You need to stay on the field. You need to find your receivers and make the smart plays.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Number 3 for me, and this is just kind of something that I believe in around preseason games. I weight a preseason game a little bit more strongly for players playing on the first or second level of a defense and first level of an offense, meaning the offensive line. This is where you get to show you can tackle. This is where you get to show you can really run block. You can really finish in run blocking and get a guy to the ground. That's why I'm going to cater a little bit of my list toward players who get to show us their physicality really for the first time on Thursday night against the San Francisco 49ers. And number 3 on my list of players with the most to gain is Anthony Hill Jr. And I'm going to compare a couple of these players to last year's ultimate winner in the linebacker battle. Cedric Gray versus James Williams. In Atlanta, in Tampa, those 2 joint practices, that 2 weeks away, I believe the Titans traveled to Tampa with James Williams being the guy to beat at inside linebacker last season. They returned to Nashville after playing the Atlanta Falcons with Cedric Gray as the guy to beat, to be the inside linebacker. They got to see him key and diagnose in the run game with full physicality, with full speed, live bullets all the way around him, and learn, all right, well, this guy is a thumper in the run game. And James Williams is a little bit too much feast or famine. His great plays last offseason would really jump off the film to you. But there were too many, in my opinion, run fits, mistakes in that area. There were too many up and down plays, not enough consistency. Now, I think the good news is, quick aside, James Williams is showing us that consistency this year and is now flying around with reportedly, according to Robert Saleh, according to Robert Saleh, having dropped 20 pounds, is flying around in a defense that is really good for converted safeties. Look at the guy that Cam Ward is going to practice against today, and Fred Warner, for examples of that. But Anthony Hill Jr. can start to play himself into more of a starting role by having a good week this week. This is where his ascension can really begin, because now we get to see how Anthony Hill Jr. at full speed can tackle, how he can shed and take on blocks, how he can key and diagnose things in the run game, what he looks like in coverage. All these things start to happen a little bit more quickly for him. And right now, he is a backup. And not just behind Cody Barton, but behind Mahmoud Diabate, who right now is slotted into a starting role next to Cedric Gray and next to Cody Barton. And I think that week, again, is underscored for him by the fact that James Williams is also pushing to be a starter within this defense. He may really be closer. This is a more of a question than it is a statement. I don't know this, but it would not shock me if you talk to those coaches right now and they told you, like James is kind of closer to starting right now than Anthony Hill Jr. is because of the experience, because of the plays that he has made through this offseason. So I think it's a big week for Anthony Hill Jr. Obviously, he is in his rookie training camp, and there's no panic about him being a backup right now. These things come with time, but I think there's an opportunity for him to start to come on a little bit more strongly as we get toward the preseason games and these 3 tests for players at positions that are a little bit more physical.
For me, I would actually go Cody Barton in this spot, basically for the same reasons, except for he might be playing his way off of the team and out of the lineup based on these camps and these joint practices, because he's the veteran in the room. He's the expected to be. Cedric Gray may be the leader, but Cody Barton is the veteran and should be the one that's looked up upon. He's the one you signed into free agency last year, and he's the one you need to step up. But for Anthony Hill, I go back to something that Ramon said yesterday about rookies, and they're kind of lower on the depth chart because they got to work their way up, and they're viewed as a rookie, and you lack that experience. I think that's kind of what he said yesterday.
It's fair. I just view Cody Barton as such a leader on this defense and as such an important veteran and calming presence in a linebacker room filled with a lot of youth. I think his role is pretty set in stone, in my opinion, for the foreseeable future. I think at least through the first half of the season. I would be surprised, would be shocked. I'd be surprised to see Cody Barton snaps significantly decrease until November to December.
I'm curious how he fits in this solid defense in terms of the regular season play, because he did take a dip in production last year in comparison to the previous 3 to 4 years when he was with Seattle, when he was with the Commanders.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I base my conversation off of.
Sure. The top 2 players on my list of the top 5 Titans with the most to gain this week against the San Francisco 49ers. We'll do that next. Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, Ramon and Will, 104.5 The Zone. If you are buying or selling your home in Middle Tennessee, you need a local agent that you can trust. Let me recommend Bernie Gallerani of Bernie Gallerani Real Estate for you. Imani has trusted Bernie twice, and both times the results spoke for themselves. Back in 2021, when it was time to sell her home, Bernie's team sat down with her, explained the entire process, and helped prepare her house for the market. Her home was listed on a Tuesday. By Wednesday evening, there was already an offer on the table. So when Imani was ready to buy her next home, there was no hesitation about who to call. Once again, Bernie Gallerani Real Estate handled every detail with professionalism, patience, and genuine care. The staff also stayed in constant communication with updates and answers the whole way through, right up until she closed on her new property. Market knowledge, dedication, and a process that stays calm and stress-free. That's the difference. If you're ready to sell fast or find your next home, call Bernie Gallerani Real Estate today. Visit BernieGallerani.com and learn all about his 30-day guaranteed sale program. He guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he'll buy it. 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644, or online at BernieGallerani.com. Who can help themselves the most at today's joint practice and Thursday's preseason game with the San Francisco 49ers? Will Bowling and Justin Hawkins. Wherever you download podcasts, you get every hour of Ramon and Will every day. 10 o'clock, we post hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, hour 4, the interviews as well. And Ramon is in San Francisco. He's going to join us here in 15 minutes for the rest of the show. We got boots on the ground journalism from the man who calls himself sports entertainer, Ramon Foster, who will have takeaways tomorrow as he is watching practice today. So you'll want to load on up on the Ramon and Will podcast, wherever you download podcasts. Number 5 was Cam Ward. Number 4 was Will Levis. Number 3 was Anthony Hill Jr. on my list of players who can help themselves the most this week. And Justin, number 2 is second-year edge rusher Femi Oladejo. I'm noticing him coming on just a little bit. But for Femi, so far in his early career as a Titans edge rusher, we are noticing more run defense than we are pass rush. Now, that is not a major surprise, considering Femi Oladejo has played about 16 games of edge rusher in his football life. He was an inside linebacker, moved to edge during his final season at UCLA, flashed there, showed enough potential where the Titans took a chance on him in the second round, and believe that he has a lot of potential. Every game and every rep and every time that Femi Oladejo can see a different offensive lineman is just critical in his development right now, considering how little edge rusher he has played in his football life. And his injury last season was one of the most unfortunate injuries the Titans had all year, because he's just got to play. He's got to play. If I'm Robert Saleh, I want to see a lot of him on Thursday night against the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, Femi Oladejo is trying to work himself back into a starting role. And this is where Robert Saleh's defense gets a little tricky, and calling someone a starter or a backup. Everyone's going to play who's up on game day at defensive line and edge rusher. That is one thing that we know about Robert Saleh's defense. I think Jacob Martin has looked really good. I think Jalen Harrell had a really good night, had a couple of sacks on Friday night in the blue and white scrimmage. How does Femi Oladejo respond? How many more pass rush moves can he make against a tackle he doesn't see all the time, who doesn't know his moves? Remains to be seen, but I think it's a big week for Femi.
For me, the way that Femi plays, he kind of benefits more on an attacking style of defense, which I think is what the Robert Saleh defense is going to do in this 4-3 style. And I kind of go back to this from Keldrick Faulk's interview with you and Ramon last week after practice, and him kind of displaying of what this style of defense can be, and they a little bit more free, don't have to think as much. For Femi, I think that's more beneficial to him than it is to Keldrick Faulk, is with Femi having less experience as an edge rusher. You don't want him to think about as much in protections and what the running back is about to do, where the guard is going to pull from. He just needs to attack. And I think that's where we're going to kind of see this. And I'm curious to see how, like you said, he needs as many different offensive alignment as possible to get that development. So I agree with you. That's key here. But I go back to what Keldrick Faulk said and how maybe this is more better and more beneficial to Femi than it would be even to anybody else.
I think it's all fair. I think as athletic as Femi Oladejo is, use that athleticism, man. Use your burst, the power. And the question then becomes, how many pass rush moves can you master in a game setting? That's got to be where he needs to improve. And that is just going to take time.
Especially because his tool chest right now is pretty bleak.
It is like a pitcher learning to throw different pitches.
Yes.
What he is learning to do against opposing tackles. My player with the most to prove is Fernando Carmona. Number 1 on my list. Fernando Carmona is starting to come on a little bit, and I think has a legitimate shot to play early and often for the Tennessee Titans on their offensive line. If I'm picking one position that is the biggest question mark right now for this football team, it is right guard. It is the most open job. I think we went into camp or maybe just going into the offseason after Austin Schlottmann was signed, thinking center and right guard. But from what I've seen from Austin Schlottmann, I think center is all but wrapped up. I think that is his job, and I think that was ultimately always the vision. I think now we are seeing that vision and what Austin Schlottmann is providing the Titans at center and providing Cam Ward as a veteran who knows the system and can make some checks in the run game and help take some of the mental side of the game off Cam's plate. Well, that leaves right guard as the most wide open competition on this football team, and Fernando Carmona has impressed me. Not full physicality yet. We're not in game settings. We're about to be, though. And I think Fernando Carmona needs a lot of snaps. I think he needs a full opportunity to prove. No, I was drafted here as an older senior, as a player who's played a ton of college football, to come in and play right away. I still believe it's Cordell Volson's job to lose in week 1. But I believe Fernando Carmona, when I saw him as that second right guard on the depth chart the other day, it confirmed what I have been seeing at practice, that he's getting more opportunities to get early snaps in practice and is starting to come on a little bit and could put himself in a legitimate position battle to be the starting right guard of the Tennessee Titans sooner rather than later.
And for Volson, Cordell Volson, it's about coming back from injury. You haven't played in over a season. How much does that factor into your playing style when you're coming back? Because it takes a lot, especially from an offensive guard standpoint. When Carmona was drafted here, and I was thinking about this, from him being drafted, him and Coogan, about when they could potentially play in this season. And the way that Carmona attacks the ball or attacks, his offensive line play, he's kind of like what Ramon said yesterday, is he's a mauler, right? He gets after that right side of the offensive line with him and JC can be that attacking style. And I think Cordell's kind of got his work cut out for him just simply because of the injury factor. And I'm kind of worried about his potential, durability this season.
Yeah, he didn't play all last year. Injured preseason for the Cincinnati Bengals, had missed all of 2025. Pat Coogan is not on my list because I think he's got to be more consistent with his snaps. Snaps have been too high for Pat Coogan. I don't think he's quite as ready or quite as close to as ready as Fernando Carmona is. Again, full physicality positions, trench positions, that can change quickly. But right now, I see Pat Coogan battling with Andre James to be the backup center. And maybe even with Jackson Slater. If Slater isn't in the competition as much at right guard, if he drops then to third in the guard battle, do you start to see Jackson Slater snapping the football a little bit more? And do they give him a little bit more of a look as a backup center? I think that could be the case. But I think Fernando Carmona has the most to gain this week. I think he's starting to emerge a little bit in this battle and could really go a long way toward potentially being a week 1 starter. I'm not going to put that past him. It would surprise me, but I'm not going to put that past him if he has a really good week in San Fran.
Honorable mentions is Cardell Tate and opposition against the team.
Cardell Tate's fair, yeah.
And then I would say cornerback play, is Mike Evans going to be practicing this week? I know he's been.
I don't think so.
Some soft.
That's why I didn't have corners on here.
Gotcha. Because Cordell Flott would be my go-to guy there.
Because there's no Mike Evans or Deshaun Stribling right now for San Francisco at wide receiver. So that's why I don't have any corners. Otherwise, yes, I agree. I think corners would be a major thing. To that point, too, with some of those injuries and with the youth that San Fran has on defense, it should be a good day for Cardell Tate today against those San Francisco corners. They're still pro corners. So are Cordell Flott and Lante Taylor. And he's playing pretty well against them. But you're right. I think that it should be a good day today for Cardell Tate. And I think it might be a good week in his first taste of NFL football. Coming up, we will welcome Ramon into the show as he wakes up on the West Coast and joins us for the final half of the show. Steve Palazzolo coming up at 8:20. Your thoughts at 615-737-1045 as Hour 3 begins next.
8:02. Good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mid-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. Today, the Titans and 49ers have a joint practice in Santa Clara, California, as they prepare for Thursday's 8 p.m. preseason game number 1 matchup. Practice begins at 12 o'clock Central today and goes until about 2:30. NFL news yesterday, the Cowboys and star defensive lineman Quinnen Williams agreed to terms on a 3-year, $105.9 million contract extension, making him one of the highest-paid defensive linemen in the NFL. The deal includes $101 million guaranteed with $63.35 million guaranteed at signing, and that $35.3 million annual average is the second highest among defensive tackles in the NFL. It's also the largest third contract ever for a defensive lineman in NFL history. And the injuries, they're piling up for a couple Lions players in Detroit. Starting center Cade May suffered a fracture in his wrist the other day at practice. It'll keep him sidelined an estimated 8 to 10 weeks. And also running back Isaiah Pacheco suffered an MCL sprain. He'll miss some time, but head coach Dan Campbell is not too concerned about the injury as he's expected to still suit up for their week 1 matchup. For all your foundation repair, waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show, off and running on Ramon and Will, dividing and conquering from the West Coast to the Music City. In a couple of hours, the Titans and 49ers will have a joint practice, and on Thursday night, they're going to play a preseason football game. Here in Nashville, Justin Hawkins makes the show happen. I'm Will Bowling, and Ramon Foster is up and Adam in San Francisco. You got me? How we doing?
Let me
Good
fix
morning.
that first before he comes
Okay.
up. He's going to double.
Okay. I got you. All good. All good. We stream the show live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, 615-737-1045, our number. I see Ramon Foster now on my computer, and hopefully in a moment I will be able to hear Ramon Foster.
Let's try it.
Here we go.
There he is.
There he is.
There we go.
I got you.
How we doing?
I'm good, man. Am I centered on my computer? Because I feel like I'm kind of thrown off a little bit on there.
No, you're good. You are centered. Yes, we'll get you centered on the screen as well. How we doing? Good morning.
Man, I'm good, man. Flight wasn't bad getting over here to the West Coast, watched a movie and a couple of shows, man. And we were landing. I watched Sanders for the first time yesterday, man. My wife gonna be mad at me hearing that because I watched it without her. And I was just like, I'm tired of waiting. Let me go ahead and knock this movie out while I'm on the plane, man. So it worked out good for us yesterday. We're here in San Francisco, man, and it's still dark outside if you can't tell behind me.
I like it. Good stuff. Excited for practice today. I'm going to run through the list with you later on in the show of my players with the most to prove today.
Yeah.
And some guys that I think have a chance to play themselves into starting roles, guys who have a chance to certainly make a name for themselves against a new opponent. But for you, Ramon, what was joint practice like? What are the nerves and adrenaline going to feel like for the Titans players today as they get ready for preseason to ramp up a little bit?
It's going to be a lot of tension just based upon it being a new opponent, just based upon it being somebody that you're not trying to lose to. And I don't say in the sense of like losing. I'm saying in the sense of just like you got to have some hot spots in these types of practices. This is another professional team, so expecting just total dominance isn't reality. You do want to hit some hot spots when it comes down to, hey, we look good in this area, and it can't just be a complete debacle. It's the way I look at it. So it's that part. I usually start in the trenches the way you're judged in those situations, because that's always just like good on good. That's a situation where you say, okay, this D-line versus this O-line, who's going to move the line of scrimmage or who's going to create some chaos for the opposing team? And without fights, I see Lethal already put in their battle royale. No, it should be none of that. And then the other part I think is super unique when it comes down to joint practices. It is, how do you determine who wins in space when there's no other defenders around you? So like the one-on-ones, that wide receivers have against DBs or the one-on-ones that running backs have against linebackers, like what justifies a win? Because again, usually you have leverage. You have certain, the people that are in on the inside of you, on the outside of you, over the top. And in those one-on-one situations, which I'm sure either the Titans or the San Francisco will have somebody break the other player off, meaning really embarrass him. But I always look at those situations and say, how realistic are they? Now, I can judge you. Let's say Carnell Tate has a killer route, right? I can judge you on just precision and how accurate he is when it comes down to, running those routes. But it is still one of those situations where it's real but not reality as it pertains to how defenses will cover for a guy immediately,
Absolutely. I think it's totally a really interesting exercise in going up against an opponent that maybe you're not totally scouting, right? Like I imagine not watching film to go up against, if you're a Titans offensive lineman, the 49ers defensive line in practice, like you are ultimately working on yourself. You're not going out there like it's a game, but you also want to win and you want to win your one-on-ones, but it's not totally a game setting. Like you never watched film before a joint practice, did you, on how to beat certain defensive linemen?
No, you don't. Now, the team settings will be totally different. And here's the one thing I will say the one-on-ones do from you from an O-line, D-line perspective. It shows you what their moves are. Okay, usually in one-on-ones, you're going to pull out either your best bull rush or your best, pass rush in general, whether that be a quick arm over where you quick swim somebody, whether you dip and rip on them, whether you hit them with a stutter step, and you see what their go-to is. As far as just the wide receiver side of this thing, like, I guess the one way you can study it is, okay, see how he does at the top of his route. Maybe a guy has a tail when he's going inside, or whether he's breaking on the ball, or even a DB. Like, you can get to a point to where you can see in these types of practices, the quarterback could do an in and out, or a stop and go type of route, or sluggo, or however you want to call those types of routes, slant go, and see if he breaks on you breaking down really hard, and then you can go past him. Like, there's a lot that kind of goes into this tape because it still is an individual study. But the way I would say I prepared for like those joint practices was I watched the team settings as far as 11 on 11 more so than I did the one-on-one situations. D linemen and O linemen have their tails when it comes to one-on-ones. And if you listen to like guys like even like Blaine or just any former DB and or current DB or wide receiver, they would say like there's such a disadvantage for having like 50 yards of open field in a one-on-one versus a wide receiver that really doesn't constitute a real rep. But you get good on good when it comes to like, hey, can I at least stay close to him? Like a guy might get beat in these one-on-ones, but not necessarily give up a lot in the game because you have coverage on the inside, or at least inside help or outside help. It's super fascinating with how you determine what's a win and loss this time of the year in these joint practices. The one thing that will be a loss, though, is if either one of these teams get out here and decide to just fight. I feel like that's usually the waste, and probably why we've also just navigated to just doing one of these practices instead of two.
Yeah,
I always knew if we do two joint practices, the next day was going to be a crap show. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I think that's working smarter for sure in the way that this has been set up. Justin and I were having a conversation at the top of the show this morning, and I'm curious your thoughts on what you would consider a hot streak for Cam Ward. Because in the last three practices, we spoke yesterday, Cam Ward is 42 of 62, completing 68% of his passes with no turnovers, including a 23 of 30 night at the blue and white scrimmage, with 3 scoring drives and a touchdown throw to Gunnar Helm. Is that long enough, Ramon, for you to say that Cam Ward is on a training camp hot streak?
Yeah, I think if you're passing 68% and it's scoring and moving up and down the field, yeah, I think that constitutes it being a hot streak. And more than just a streak, it's growth, right? Like that's the one thing we've been asking for, like growth. And his ability, Cam's ability to show that he's morphing more into a quarterback, that he is understanding this offense. I think we hear about how he has this Mamba mentality about everything that he does, about being great, learning the playbook, pushing his teammates, demanding so much more. I'm not sure if we've all paid attention to any player that's gotten a contract, that's made a big play. He drops this one line every time: best in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, when Peter Scarron, he's the best in the world. Even with Calvin last year, he's the best in the world. Cornell, best in the world. Like, he truly believes that. And so him being able to push himself to make these guys just be on the same page with him, there's a lot of work that goes into it, Will. But like I know, you see him before and after practice. There's a lot of work that goes into him getting to that point, because there was a question that I had last year. I think Caleb Williams changed my mindset on completion percentage a little bit. We've spoken about that. But I do think we all want a quarterback that's efficient, either getting rid of the ball or at least being able to make and take the plays that are given to you as well.
You kind of know it when you see it, on when a completion percentage is predictive or an important stat. Like, Caleb Williams had 6 game-winning drives last season and had a lower completion percentage because he was one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the NFL. He was getting rid of the ball and chucking it into row B. There are some times where that is a great thing. There are other times where his low completion percentage were because he would miss the easy throws while he was hitting on the crazy ones. He was like the reverse Joe Milton at Tennessee. He would hit a 40-yard bomb to DJ Moore, but miss a 5-yard out to Cole Kmet or to Luther Burden. Like, we want the first part of that for Cam Ward. We can live with the completion percentage being lower if it means he's getting the ball out of his hand and having less negative plays that are just total drive killers.
Yes, and that's what you don't want, is those drive killers, man, to where I don't want to say you're doing too much, but you're yes, you are. You're taking more than what's allowed to you on those said plays. And I think there's a lot that goes into, like you said, chucking it into the stands, or understanding that, hey, this loss isn't a loss as far as us being able to just punt the ball and let our defense play for us. It shows trust and an understanding of the game. I feel like with young guys, even with non-skill positions like O lineman and D lineman, guys get outside of their gaps and try to do too much when they're pressing to win. And that's one thing I would give Coach Sal, I feel like, a lot of praise for, and his coaching staff, and how they kind of brought this together. There is the understanding that it's not just you. Like, the offense has its role to play. The defense has its role to play. If you believe in Bones Fossil and his ability to find the right punters, the right kickers to get you 3 points, or to be able to pin them inside the 10, I'm okay with just dirting this ball or just checking it down underneath and we're short 3 yards, because it's about possessions and not messing up. The NFL is a very fine line, and I know the Titans hadn't won a lot lately, but you do have to look at this and say, like, there's a fine line between winning and losing in this league. And part of that is understanding when that's enough and we'll get them the next time.
It's totally fair. Totally fair. I mean, and yes, I believe in Bones Fossil, by the way, like I believe in gravity holding me down and that the sun is going to come up the next morning. That's the level of belief I have in Bones Fossil as a special teams coach. No one on this planet loves special teams more than Bones Fossil.
It's beautiful. He's a coach, man, that loves, I think, everything about being on the practice field. He plays a lot of different roles, man, when it comes to the day-to-day processing of what he does when he's not coaching special teams.
Coming up, Steve Palazzolo joins us, our good friend of the 33rd team and Check the Mic podcast. He was at Titans training camp last week. What did he see from Cam Ward, and how high is he on the Titans potentially being a surprise team in the AFC in 2026? Ramon Foster in California, Will Boulding in Nashville. Ramon and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Will on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster is in San Francisco. I am in Nashville. As we continue here in hour number 3 with our Titans discussion ahead of preseason game number 1. Last week, I was listening to Check the Mic, one of our absolute favorite podcasts, with Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo of the 33rd team, and listened to it. And the next morning, I had to practice, and, well, here's Steve Palazzolo to watch practice with us and have some takeaways. And he joins us now. Steve, the timing couldn't have been more perfect. What's going on? How are you?
Doing great. Yeah, you never know when I'm going to show up at Titans practice. Yeah, within 4 hours from me in Cincinnati. So I like to stop by at least once a year.
I love it. Well, what did you take away? Biggest thing you feel like you learned? Obviously, one practice. This thing is a process, a long build up to week 1. But what was your biggest takeaway watching this team practice last week?
That's what you do in media. I saw 1 out of 20 practices. I'm going to take what I saw, which is most important, and project it out. No, it was an interesting day. You and I were talking on the sideline a little bit as well. I thought overall, I start with Cam Ward and the quarterback situation. I thought Cam looked really good overall, minus 2 plays, which I'll talk about in a second. But I saw Cam Ward working it at the line of scrimmage, checking plays, going through reads. Arm looked live, zipped one into tight coverage to Calvin Ridley, and I just thought Cam looked like he had some command and made some really nice throws. Now, there were 2 plays that particular day when he was in scramble drill mode and he threw back across his body for interceptions. One was a pick 6. And I happened to be talking to someone with the Titans during one of them, and I looked over and said, hey, I hope he's just trying some stuff. Or I said, is he just trying some stuff? And he looked at me and said, I hope so. Because you never really know what's going on during practice. If you're really just saying, hey, let me see if I can get away with this. Sometimes, you hear Aaron Rodgers talking about this all over social media. But look, overall, I thought it was a pretty clean day, but I'll be keeping an eye on if some of those poor decisions outside of the pocket end up carrying over into game time for Cam Ward.
Steve Palazzolo of Check the Mic, the 33rd team, our guest this morning on Ramon and Will. Steve, you also got the chance to see Carnell Tate, someone who you and Sam Monson were high on as a good pick for the Titans at number 4 overall. When are we allowed to get very excited about Carnell Tate? Because I'm having a hard time tempering my expectations, Steve, considering how good he continues to look as a wide receiver 1 right now on this team.
Right now, get excited.
Perfect.
I think it's time. We can't overhype Carnell Tate. It was interesting because I thought at draft time, I loved that pick at 4. I thought it was the right move. I thought if Jeremiah Love was on the board, Alvarell Reese was on the board, which he was, that Carnell Tate was still the right play. And my order of operations would have been David Bailey had he been there, and then Carnell Tate. And I know there were some people who were like, man, Carnell Tate's not a top 4. He's not a guy that should go 4th overall at receiver. And that might be true. In a normal year, if there is another elite receiver to battle Carnell Tate at the top, maybe he's not 4. Maybe he's the guy that normally gets picked at 9 or 12 or whatever. But it was the right move for the Titans, given where they are from a roster perspective. And Carnell Tate, I just think he's very good at a lot of things. If you were just watching Ohio State in passing last year, you might think, well, obviously there's Jeremiah Smith. He'll be a generational wide receiver prospect. And then you saw this guy catching some deep balls and catching some contested catches. And it's like, that's what Carnell Tate is. Until you dive into the film and see how nuanced he is as a route runner, his footwork, how clean he is in and out of breaks, especially at the intermediate and the deep level, in addition to really good ball skills and the ability to win in tight situations. And I think he's had some battles with Alontae Taylor in camp from what I've seen, both in person and through social media. But yeah, I really like Tate. I think he's exactly what the Titans need. And then, you just move everyone else down the depth chart a little bit. Not that Tate has to be declared a 1, but having Calvin Ridley as a complementary piece, having Wan'Dale Robinson working out of the slot, having Aya Manor and DK, the 2 second-year players, as more vertical threats, especially DK over the top. I think they just have a really nice mix at receiver now in Tennessee.
Joined by our good friend Steve Palazzolo this morning. Steve, with that being said, man, what does, as far as Carnell Tate's concerned, for the people that, do question or did question it before all these media clips come out, what does a good wide receiver, man, do for an offense or a team? Because I think that's the biggest issue that people are looking at. Well, he's not this, caliber player, but you also have to look at what a team need. So what does a good one do for the offense that as opposed to a running back per se?
Yeah, so I can't believe they sent you guys all the way out to San Francisco during the preseason. You should, Ramon, you've got some sway with the league. You should be complaining here. It's supposed to be all local games, Come to Cincinnati or something. Anyway, I always talk about the passing game as you want to put the defense in a bind with 4 or 5 playmakers. And the running back can be one of those guys. But you really want the defense to say, I don't know who to stop. The best offenses can't double every receiver or can't have every receiver doubled, and you spread the ball around. I always talk about offenses having answers. So when the defense plays soft, you have somebody who can win underneath. When they play press, you have somebody who can win one-on-one and win vertically. When they double on the outside, you have someone who can win in the middle. And so I always lean toward let's have different types of skill sets, but it's really just who can win on the outside, in the slot, wherever it may be, to put the defense in a bind. And, a lot of times we talk about, look, the offensive line is incredibly important, but the other way of protecting the quarterback and protecting Ramon in the offensive line is by getting the ball out quickly and having someone who can win and get open. Your receivers, receivers help protect the quarterback, right? So it all meshes together. And I always talk about the addition of one receiver. Okay, that takes a guy like Calvin Ridley, who doesn't have a great history as the go-to guy, whether it's back in Atlanta, whether it's here. He doesn't have a great history there. He could still have those games, 8 catches for 100 yards, but you don't need him to do that every week. Carnell might do that one week. Wandell might go off one week. So you just have different answers to what the defense is giving you. And I think that makes a much bigger impact than, say, the running back position, where you're dependent on the offensive line a little bit more. You're dependent on more up front, whereas the receiver is dictating the action a little bit more than the running back is when it comes to creating mismatches offensively to put the defense in a bind.
No doubt. Steve, man, this past weekend, the Titans had their blue and white scrimmage this past Friday night. You mentioned something to Will, man, as far as like Cam's control at the line of scrimmage, man. And that is something that I always look for. I love when my quarterback did it as well, wait until the last second to call the play so that the defense can get where they're going. Like Cam has shown in this Brian Daboll's offense, Steve, a lot of control over where he wants to go with the ball before the ball even snapped. Like, can you speak on just what that growth and understanding can do for a quarterback that's going into a second year with a new offense, man? I like to call it the undressing aspect of just the flow of the offense, man. That does numbers way before the ball even, is snapped from the center in those situations. How advanced is that, Steve, to be at that point right now in his second year with the new offense?
I mean, it's so huge. And again, not to personalize it just because of me. Like the practice that I went to last year was when they were really challenging Cam, and they were giving him third down defense looks and blitz looks and 6 up, dropping out into coverage, and he looked lost in that particular practice that I saw last year. This was like night and day this year. Again, not just because I saw it, but I was really impressed with his ability to go and take his time, see the defense, and get into the right play. I always say it's like a blackjack game. Peyton Manning might have been the extreme, or Tom Brady might be the extreme, where they're sitting there at the line of scrimmage and calculating and saying, here are the odds that you're going to play, say, too high, or this particular coverage, and I know what you're going to play. Let me get to the right answer. I keep coming back to the offense needing answers, and the ability to get into the right play might be the difference between 5-yard gain and a 5-yard loss, getting sacked or whatever it may be. As you know, setting pass protection, working with the center, making sure everybody knows what they need to be doing. So it's crucial. It is absolutely crucial. We have seen a lot of quarterbacks. I know this is what Titans fans are rooting for. In the last decade, we've seen a lot of those year 2 jumps, right? We've seen some quarterbacks have really good rookie seasons like Jaden Daniels, C.J. Stroud, Baker Mayfield, and maybe taper off a little bit. We've seen other quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, Drake May last year, the guys who take that year 2 jump and show more comfort, a little bit more comfort at the line of scrimmage, see in the field. It is all about slowing things down. And again, I think, not to declare that that's definitely happening and will happen for this year, but it was very encouraging watching Cam play like that at practice. And it shows, he is a lot more comfortable in year 2, seeing it a lot better, slowing it down.
Steve Palazzolo is our guest from Check the Mic, wherever you download podcasts, and the 33rd team. Steve, if I gave you the end product this season for the Titans and told you the Titans are a playoff team in 2026, how confident are you that could be a reality as the Titans try to become that next surprise team in the AFC like the Jags did last year? And what's got to happen for them to get to that point?
Well, I'm not completely there yet that it's going to happen. I should know my audience and just say, of course it's going to happen. It's optimism season. Let's go. I'm not sure the roster's there yet. I think it's moving in the right direction. If it's going to happen, again, it's not, it's lazy to say, well, it's all about the quarterback. But absolutely, if Cam Ward and the offense, if the pass game starts to click, that overcomes a lot of the other warts. And the places where I would say there are warts, I would say defensively, obviously you've got, I would say one of the best defensive tackle groups in the NFL with, depending on if you want to call, John Franklin Myers kind of a hybrid there, but Jeffrey Simmons, Franklin Myers, some of the depth pieces that they added. I need to see a little bit better, more consistency off the edge. I'm not sure they're really ready to affect the quarterback with a four-man rush like Robert Saleh would like to. I think they've got some potential on the back end. I would say my concerns are, at the cornerback position, Alontae Taylor, Cordell Flott, both coming off of career years where they've been, less than that in previous years. Was that are they both one-year wonders, or were they the right free agent signings at the right price to come in and shore up that secondary? So I think there are more defensive questions than anything. I know, Will, we had talked about, running the ball's been a little hit or miss at practice, and I'm not sure again, when we go back to answers offensively. Are they ready to be physical up front? I think the line is fine. It's okay. It may be better in pass protection than it is moving the defense off the ball and, run game generally. So I think there is many questions as there are answers, but if they're going to make the playoffs, I think that receiver room comes together as we were describing. They're rolling 4 and 5 deep with various skill sets with a decent tight end group as well. And all of a sudden the pass game is overcoming maybe what they have issues with in the run game and maybe overcoming their inability to really affect the quarterback rushing the passer.
Steve, man, I guess an indirect question around the Titans, but it's two quarterbacks in the AFC South that I just continue to just side eye. And I think one of them is probably one foot out the door, but what is Anthony Richardson and also C.J. Stroud as quarterbacks this year? And I think C.J., of course, is a starter, most definitely, but how do you determine what his level of play is when he didn't finish the season well last year at all? He's got questions. His fan base is judging him on camp report day on the clothes that he wears. Like, he's not as favorable as he once was. And I think you look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, and I think he's third on the depth chart right now. How do you view those two quarterbacks' lives moving forward?
Let me start with Stroud. I mean, I feel like I could do an hour on his career and the history and the trajectory because, coming out of Ohio State, he had this one game against Georgia, which seemingly, if you were watching film that year, you were like, every weakness that I wrote down in my notes all of a sudden became a strength against the best defense in the nation in Georgia. And he was incredible. And it was like, man, what do you do with this? It was the last college game that he played. And then all of a sudden, as a rookie, he looks comfortable. He's excellent. He's throwing the ball accurately on time. He's playing outside of structure with confidence. I thought his rookie season was outstanding. And in that Houston team, if we remember, was supposed to be a bottom 5 team in the NFL, right? It was like, oh, man, they made this big trade. They're going to be picking in the top 10 against next year. And they weren't. They go to the final 8. And then all of a sudden, Stroud has gotten a little bit worse in year 2, maybe in year 3. Things fall apart around him. He's a little streaky. I think it's a big year for him to show, not that he's a self-starter, but I think there's a little bit of hot and cold with him. If he starts slow in a game, it tends to compound. He needs that amnesia factor that quarterbacks have, right? Where, I threw 2 picks. It doesn't matter. I'll still make the fourth quarter comeback. Yeah. I want to see that from Stroud. I think that's where he has lacked a little bit these last couple of years, because he's in those playoff games where I thought it was the best defense of the last 10 years, Houston last year.
Easily.
And he's turning it over like crazy in the Pittsburgh game that they won, and then in New England where they lost. And so he's got to figure that out. He's got good playmakers. I think the offensive line should be better. I really do like that receiving group in Houston. It's a big pivotal year for Stroud because he's the next guy. Again, I know I could speak all day on it, but we haven't had a $50 million quarterback decision for a first rounder in a while. Remember, Kenny Pickett was the first rounder in 2022. And in 23, it was Stroud and Bryce Young. And both of those teams are like, do we have to pay these guys $50 million? And so, it's the going rate now for, QB 12 to 15 in the NFL. So that's the pivotal choice. I think Houston will lean towards Stroud, but he's got to prove it this year. He can't have another mediocre to subpar season. Richardson's, again, more nuanced. I don't think he always had accuracy issues. I don't think he's been the, quote, bust that people like to declare bust and everything. He was inexperienced. He's still inexperienced. He's never played more than, I think, started and finished 3 straight games. Never had that ability between injuries, getting pulled out of the game, whatever it may be. Has the eye injury from last year that might be affecting his vision now. So I would love to take a shot on Richardson as a backup somewhere around the league. He's still young and inexperienced. Let's see. Has to improve his accuracy, but it's not like he's never played well. He's had some games where he's played well, Richardson, and I would love to try to unlock that in a backup situation somewhere else.
Man, Steve, just real quick, I guess, or however long you want to go with it, but where are you with Will Levis in that same conversation as far as Richardson goes? Richardson has the first round tag, and I as an undrafted, have always said first rounders should forever get chances, but anybody after that is not really the same. And I'm sure you saw probably the clip this past weekend as well, where he kind of had another moment, and like you see him pressing and wanting to be great, but like Steve, it does not pop the way you want it to happen or the way he wants it to happen. Where do you see him nationally and I guess football career-wise that we see differently, I guess, in Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, because of what Sam Darnold did last year, you know how it's like, well, who's the next Sam Darnold? And you just look at every failed first or, in this case, second-round quarterback and say, well, just bring him in, who knows, and let's see. I think that's where Levis ends up at this point, which is, all right, which place can he go and, get the coach to try to reel him in a little bit and find that balance, that normally I'd rather see a quarterback be more aggressive than conservative, but there's a balance there. Then it's on the coach to say, okay, how do you get this guy to play within structure 80-90% of the time and then let the natural ability come out? And you got to find that, where the slider is, in that on that spectrum there. It's unfortunate that Liam Cohen's probably, the only guy that's really gotten the best out of Will Levis throughout his career, and he's in the division. And so that would be the best fit. Maybe it's another, McVay derivative, Tampa Bay with Zach Robinson, who, was with Sean McVay. Maybe I would say maybe it's the Rams, but they already have Ty Simpson as their, their future. But, Levis probably lands somewhere as a developmental project, but it's not easy to just trust him as QB2. I think there's a lot of good backups around the league who you trust to come in. I think Levis has to be a QB3 developmental option where some teams trying to get the most out of his physical talent and trying to find that balance again between aggressiveness and being a little bit too careless with the ball.
Steve Palazzolo, our guest this morning on Ramon and Will. Check the mic with Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson Monday, Wednesday, Thursday via the 33rd Team, YouTube, wherever you download podcasts. A great follow for your podcast rotation during football season. Steve, appreciate you as always. Great to see you last week, and we hope to do it again soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Steve Palazzolo with us this morning, talking a little Titans and training camp. You read my mind because I was literally about to ask him right there at the end, if you were a general manager of a franchise and your backup quarterback gets hurt, are you trading for Anthony Richardson or Will Levis?
Man.
Because I think there's different types there for me, Ramon. I think that if you are a team that isn't expected to be any good, Richardson might be a more appealing, high-ceiling project. But if you are a immediate contention team, I think Will Levis is going to give you better quarterback play right now. Do you agree?
The right now part, yes. The overall end product, if you spend more time with Anthony Richardson, I give the edge to him.
I agree.
Yeah. And I feel like Richardson, he gets started, then he gets stopped. Like he gets started, then he gets stopped. Like Levis at least had like a longer, I guess track like plan as far as being able to play. Like Richardson got hurt the first year, then he had the eye thing, and then it just all went to crap like really, really fast. I feel like he has enough mystery about himself that you're probably in a position to where you feel like, yeah, I'll take a flyer on them. The part, I guess, is questionable for Levis is it's been 4 years. Is it still developmental at that point? But he started off that answer with Sam Darnold.
Sure. Yeah. It's a good point. 615-737-1045. Ramon in San Francisco. Myself here in Nashville. If you've ever wondered, maybe you're not a huge NFL fan. You wonder, why do these guys just talk NFL? It's Titans. It's NFL. I know it's king nationally, but like, I'm going to give you one of the best answers I could ever give you on how the NFL is king. We'll do that coming up next. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Ramon Will, 104.5 The Zone. If you have a 2, 3, or 4% mortgage rate, don't refinance it. You don't have to, but you can still get cash out of your home. Introducing Loan Pronto's zero-cost equity loan. What's up? It's Will Bowling. That's right. With Loan Pronto, you can get all the cash you need without touching your first mortgage and without any fees. One local homeowner just got $100,000, paid off all their credit cards, paid off their existing HELOC, remodeled their kitchen, and saved over $1,500 per month. It gets better. There's no hard credit pull up front, usually no appraisal, and no long, drawn-out process. And listen, no closing costs. You may even be able to skip your next 2 house payments. So call Loan Pronto now. Leave your low-rate mortgage intact, but get the cash you need in as little as 2 weeks without paying closing costs. That's loanpronto.com. See how much you can get right now at 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or online at loanpronto.com. For qualified homeowners, equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. We've got some NFL headlines coming up for you in just a couple of minutes as Ramon and Will rolls on into hour number 4. 615-737-1045, how you join us. If you've ever wondered why we talk so much NFL football, the Hall of Fame game, Ramon, is a perfect example on why. Did you see via Front Office Sports yesterday how many people watched the Hall of Fame game last week between the Cardinals and Panthers?
No, I did not. But I'll say this before you give me that: the ratings and how good it was. I feel like for the first time in a while, this is the most I heard people just having general conversation about the game.
I agree.
People understood, like most of the time we talk about the Hall of Fame game, like, oh, I'm going to watch the first series, first quarter. No, people were locked in.
This was a banger of a game. Yes, it was Haynes King is what it was. 7 million people watched the NFL Hall of Fame game. For perspective, according to Front Office Sports, that is more than the most viewed Major League Baseball game this season and any NHL game last year, including the Stanley Cup for the Hall of Fame game, to see Carson Beck play Kenny Pickett and then Haynes King go on a game-winning drive.
Hey, Will, I got something over here, man, real quick. I'm going to give it to the NFL.
What's that? Yeah,
there's your crown.
He's putting on a proverbial crown on the NFL. Yes.
Crown. We're back. It's just what we are.
There's never any doubt.
There's never take the crown off, man. You don't have to worry about the jesters in the court trying to get you killed. None of that type of stuff. Like, no, we're good. You don't have to worry about a Caesar moment when it comes down to the NFL. It's just, it's what we do here. I enjoy it. Everybody enjoys it. And here's the other part, though, too. I do, this might be going a step too far, but I do think the momentum of the summer was just having so much of a lead up and just excitement with what I feel like not MLS, what FIFA was, the World Cup was. So like we hit this downturn, and then that was like a ready reset. I feel like for everybody that was ready for football. Like it was a hot summer this year as far as sports goes, and now football just continues to move up. Man, I like where we are. Do the World Cup every year.
Well, I think you make a great point. I kind of had the same thought. It's kind of like when you go as a kid to your friend's birthday party, and you know you've got your birthday coming up, and you go to your friend's birthday party, and it's so much fun. You're like, man, like, I don't really care as much about this as I do my birthday, because I'm 8 in this scenario, but like now my birthday is going to be sick. I'm going all out because now I want to have this much fun for my birthday party. And it's like, man, like the World Cup was fun. Like that was a good time. Like I enjoyed that, but man, I'm ready for football. And I think a lot of people would put themselves in that discussion. I think you're right.
Yeah, it is, man. It's, I think also we're phasing out of the, I don't want to say the old quarterback era, but I do. And I know we got questions about some of these young quarterbacks, but when you look across the league, there's a lot of like young, hot quarterbacks and just position players and just teams. They either got new coaches, new scenery, and just new storylines more than I feel like ever before. Like I always wonder what the world would do when it got past the Brady, Manning, Breeze, Roethlisberger, like era of football. Rivers eras of football, and now I feel like we're getting those answers more. Like the storyline about, what is CJ Stroud capable of doing? Jaden Daniels, will he have a bounce back year? Bo Nix, Drake May, Cam Ward, you name all of these guys. It's in a healthy, optimistic spot right now that, again, the NFL will continue to churn that butter when it comes down to just, you can have some. Every city's got something, man. Even the ones that got questions behind it. I am intrigued to see what Miami's going to do. I am. For whatever sicko reason that I have, I want to see if Malik Willis can turn that thing into something, man. And I'm into it. Like it to me is, again, Will, what I think the season of the summer or fall is. Like it's football. More than just pumpkin spice lattes.
It's back. It's
so back.
Are you going to partake in my tradition before my first football broadcast of every year with me on Thursday?
Little PSLs before?
Uh-huh. I'm finding a Starbucks and I'm drinking a pumpkin coffee before we hop on the bus or hop on however we're getting to the stadium and go into the stadium on Thursday. That is happening. That is absolutely happening.
I'll knock it out with you. Absolutely. I'm into it. I'm into it.
That's why you're a real one.
You want to know where I'm at with this fall thing already? This will just let you know. I don't know if it's age, me being unk status now. I'm already asking when are we picking up moms for the fall.
There it is. There you go.
I'm talking about fall me up, Will. I'm looking for it.
I did think about bringing a jacket because it's supposed to be very nice. And San Francisco, Santa Clara, same thing. Not the same thing for the sake of where we will be on Thursday night. But, I mean, it does get a little cool at night. Also, too, like I would hate to have some sleeves covering my arms on Thursday to watch some football. Would hate that.
Listen, it's like hoodie season at nighttime here. I'm going to be real with you. It is. I thought about bringing a light hoodie, and I didn't because I didn't want to overpack, and I should have. It's light hoodie season at night.
I think that might be packed in my bag. I'm excited. I'm excited. 615-737-1045, the number. Some NFL headlines for you. An extension for an NFC D tackle, an AFC South player whose injury concerns are growing more and more concerning, and Fernando Mendoza, where he stands on the Raiders depth chart that shouldn't surprise you, but might just a little bit. We'll talk about all that as Hour 4 begins next.
9:03, good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mid-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. Today, the Titans and the San Francisco 49ers have a joint practice in Santa Clara, California, as they prepare for Thursday's 8 p.m. preseason game number 1 matchup. Practice will take place at 12 o'clock today and goes to 2:30 p.m. Central Time. NFL news yesterday, the Cowboys and star defensive lineman Quentin Williams agreed to terms on a 3-year, $105.9 million contract extension, making him one of the highest-paid defensive linemen in the NFL. The deal includes $101 million guaranteed, and the $35.3 million annual average is the second highest among defensive tackles in the NFL. It's also the largest third contract ever for defensive linemen in NFL history. And injuries are piling up in Detroit for starting center Cade Mays, who suffered a fracture in his wrist that'll keep him sidelined in an estimated 8 to 10 weeks with an estimated midseason return. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Away we go into the fourth and final hour this morning with headlines in the National Football League. Who could make headlines today at Titans versus 49ers versus substation practice in San Francisco, California? Listen, there are multiple opponents that we're practicing against today, Ramon. We are practicing against San Fran. We are also practicing against the dastardly villain that is the electrical substation next to the 49ers facility.
It is. I'm getting a phone call real quick to the room. You mind if I take it?
Oh, go for it. Wow. Just this guy just taking important business calls. I love how his iPad, whatever he's on, has zoomed in on him. That was great.
So he was telling me when he logged on that his new Mac, the camera will track him.
It follows you. The camera has just followed Ramon.
He said he
I
was
don't know why
cut the
this is so
camera,
funny to me. It's just followed him to go pick up the phone in his room. Now it's following him back. Can you?
I told Hawk about that earlier.
It's like we were totally just eavesdropping on whatever conversation you're having as you're like ordering food or something.
I did, because I thought about it. We're about to head to practice in a little bit. And like there's separation of crews and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to have like anything to of any nourishment until like 1 o'clock or something like that. On top of like, didn't really eat much yesterday. So I'm like, I'm going to pass out here. Not that I'm ever in the position of passing out because of hunger, right? But I was like, I got to have something on my stomach. And I ordered room service while we were in the last segment. They called because there's only cash only for my room and stuff like that. And I was like, I got cash, and I'm really hurrying them off the phone. Like, I got cash, I can pay it.
All right, appreciate it. All right, bye. See ya.
Pretty
I gotta go.
I got you.
All right, I'm on the radio thousands of miles away. See ya. That's great.
Hilarious, man. But I had to get some nourishment real quick, man. Well, I ordered some before we go to practice here in a minute. I was telling Hawk before we came, I said, I got a new laptop. The one I had was like from 2017. So it was kind of getting dated, slowing down. Yeah. But it was working fine enough. And for Father's Day, my wife ended up giving me this new laptop. And it follows me wherever I go. Watch me move my head.
No, I know. Yeah, it's crazy because we were following you to the phone, and multiple commenters on YouTube are now saying, really glad you had pants on because the camera was following you back there. Oh, no, I mean, that's lucky for all of us. That's lucky for our nearly 20,000 subscribers on 104.5 The Zone TV. I don't know, maybe that would have gotten us more subscribers on 104.5 The Zone TV, but that's fortunate for all parties involved.
For the Zonely fans.
Wow.
Hey.
Zone TV After Dark.
After dark. No, the wake up. Yeah.
Right.
Zone TV wake up.
Man, you got to pay extra for that.
Oh, that is hilarious. But Bert would have had pants off. That's all I know. Bert would have had pants off, most definitely.
All I know is that anyone who just commented that is telling on themselves that in Zoom calls they've been on at work, they have been on video chats without their pants on.
Have been, man.
So if you just commented that, I'm officially judging that is why you're saying that. Anyway.
I just told y'all I might have to go to the door and I'll turn my camera off. No, did not happen.
Didn't. You just went back to the phone. Well, I think Quinnen Williams is going to have a lot of cash for room service, Ramon. He is the latest defensive tackle to receive a big contract extension this offseason. $101 million with $63.35 guaranteed at signing, a signing bonus of $31.8 for Quinnen Williams and the Dallas Cowboys, a 3-year extension worth $105.9 million. 28-year-old who had been signed through 2027 in a 4-year deal worth $96 million. He has done very well, Ramon, for himself, and now becomes the second highest paid defensive tackle of all time.
Man, I'll tell you one thing that goes a step further, okay? I would hate to be a GM who's negotiating against Nicole Lynn as well, the agent that's setting all of these deals up. Who was the agent a few years ago? They did it. A.J. Brown's deal. Golly, I forget his name. But as of late, I think she's gotten Bijan Robinson. She's got Quinnen Williams.
Tory Dandy was A.J. Brown's.
Tory Dandy was the hot name. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's absolutely taking everybody over the coals right now when it comes down to her being able to do the deal. But I think we all recognize what this was going to be when it came down to Jeff getting paid. The other D tackles was going to get theirs as well. Quinnen was most definitely up. Dallas I feel like they're a franchise, man, that fully enjoy making these types of headlines. And no, Nicole Lynn also has Will Anderson Jr. Oof. Like she's on a tear. Kudos to her for getting into a mostly male-dominated industry, man. Oh, she's got Myles Garrett as well.
My goodness. She's cooking. Christmas is going to be great in the Lynn household.
You best doggone believe it, man. But shout out to Quinnen, man. He's a guy I remember playing against when he was younger, and like a heavy body guy. And I don't say it as far as weight, but one of those people that just hit you and you feel them more. Will, like, he uses his attributes well when it comes down to how he's able to shift and maneuver around blocks and create that power and explosion upfield. The Titans play them this year, man. It'll be a battle of the elite D tackles between Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, Quinnen Williams, friggin' Jalen Carter. Like, everybody's on the docket. Tavondre Sweat as well.
Oof, well, if he can get healthy, if he can play football. And new 49er Osa Odigizua, who used to be Quinnen Williams' teammate in Dallas. 49ers trading a third-round pick for him this offseason after Christian Parker's new scheme didn't really fit him as well in Dallas. So that's another solid defensive tackle. Good time to be a D tackle right now, clearly.
Yes, it is. That and interior offensive line, like that was the tweet I saw yesterday from somebody. It's like, all these guards getting paid, defensive line, interior, come to the front. Like, yeah. It is such a beautiful place where the league is right now with those type of deals being done because, again, rising tides, right? Everybody, I think, gets something from this one, man. So somebody has been a part of like helping structure what the CBA is. This was one of the main goals, to put more money into players' pockets, man. And I'm hoping not just those dudes, but the middle class as well. Well, I do have to answer this door. I'm listening to you, though, real quick.
I got you. Well, we talked a little bit earlier this morning about Alec Pierce and the new details surrounding him in Indianapolis. James Boyd of The Athletic with the reporting here that Alec Pierce received a second PRP injection in his ankle. Now, this took place in June. The first injection took place before he underwent left ankle surgery in March. This is not a setback. It is new information about a shot in late June to alleviate soreness and speed up his rehab, which the source to James Boyd of The Athletic emphasized is not abnormal. Now, Ramon's back. Indianapolis right now has Nick Westbrook-Akine at wide receiver 1 in training camp. because Alec Pierce and Josh Downs are both hurt. Ramon, I know that this is not abnormal, and this happened in June, and we're just learning more details about it, but how big of a red flag is this to you that Alec Pierce has now received 2 PRP injections into his left ankle after what was supposed to be a minor cleanup surgery with a 6 to 8 week recovery timeline?
Usually, so Daryl and the Burrow, so PRP injections are done in series. When I've had it done, I've only had one done at a time. Like, I didn't get a series. Like, you can stack them over the course of the season. And I think you can only do them only so often. It may be like every 6 weeks you can get a new PRP injection. And I may be off enough, but like, we didn't do them that often when it came down to it, because the way it goes is you pull blood, you spin it, you get the platelets out of it, and then you inject it back in. The genesis of what PRP is supposed to get that good plasma, put it back into whatever's hurting, and it helps speeds up the recovery of whatever the issue is that you have. And his, you says, Will, is his ankle?
Left ankle.
Here's the thing about it. I personally do not think that's going to be his results, okay? Of like, what that's going to be a great result for him. And what I mean by that is, like, the PRP side of this is it's supposed to help generate a healthier ankle faster. With that being said, Will, what do you walk on every single day? Your feet, your ankles. The recovery of that means he has to spend time off his feet to actually let the PRP work. Like, I've had PRP done like on my elbow. Will, I hit every single play. That pain is going to come back. It is a masking agent, in my personal opinion, for something that is delaying a surgery for him moving forward. I think the process of saying he doesn't want to get cut and, hey, we're trying to save this season. And the ugly part of this is, how can we get him to the season where we can probably just give him injections, tore it all, or just not have him go to IR and lose him for the season? This, to me, the PRP that they're capable of that they're using right now, it's not the answer, especially when you have a weight-bearing joint.
It's funny, we were talking about this right now. Ironically, Colts general manager Chris Ballard is speaking with the media right now in Indy, and apparently just said that that report is false and that he did not have a second PRP injection. So a little bit of he said, GM said going on right now. Last night it was James Boyd of The Athletic saying he received another PRP injection in his ankle back in June. And right now, Chris Ballard said that that is not the case. There have been no setbacks, and he is not specifying a timeline. All right, well, you allow our imaginations as NFL fans to run amok when you don't give any kind of timeline, and this guy is still not out there, while your quarterback just threw 2 picks of practice yesterday, and Daniel Jones off the hands first of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine and Jonathan Taylor.
Man, that's just...
There's something weird going on there. I don't know, man. It doesn't feel right to me.
It is. Well, it feels like they're in the blender right now. Like, they're in a very pressurized era of Colts football, just based on, the Steichen's trying to save his job, the GM as well. And then, of course, they don't want to be wrong on this Daniel Jones thing. Like, and the other side of, like, they got good enough weapons at, like, all levels, except, in my personal opinion, wide receiver. I don't know what Alec Pierce is as a numero uno for the entirety of the season. And he's doing exactly what he's always done historically, the injury component of it. That is not a shocker right there. And I'm looking at our chat. Daryl and Barrow, I think he may be in the medical field as well, though. But, like, the PRP that you get for such a weight-bearing joint, that's not the fix. They should have gone in, Will, and did the surgery. And guys are finicky about that. New deal, probably didn't want to spend the offseason injured, or just when you're always injured. Like, that's the reason Andrew Luck retired. Like, that that is a hard mental gymnastics, man, to just be getting right every single offseason. So they seem to try to take the easy route, and it's just not in their favor.
To no one's surprise, in Las Vegas, Fernando Mendoza is QB2 on the Raiders' first depth charts. Ramon, they have told us their plan since the beginning. Tom Brady, from the very top all the way down to the new coaching staff and front office, John Spytek, the general manager. They believe in giving a young quarterback time, and it really does look like Kirk Cousins is QB1 in Vegas.
Man, just a bunch of window dressing for what the ultimate answer is going to be. I mean, I like that process though too. I think some of these young quarterbacks are thrown into the fire a little bit too much too soon. Look at this division; it's pretty tough as well. The only issue that I have going on, as far as Fernando Mendoza and the quarterback issue situation that they had, was the report of Max Crosby putting fist to face on Kirk Cousins.
I would love to have Kirk Cousins totally mic'd up for that because we wouldn't have to bleep anything out.
We would not.
Golly gee, Max. Gosh darn it. Get out of my freaking face, Max. Gosh darn it. Dag nabbit. Golly heavens to Betsy.
Boy, I oughta.
Very much why I oughta. And I say that as Kirk Cousins' #1 fan who's not a Raiders fan.
Yeah, you are. It's a different place. It's different coming from you, Will, most definitely.
It is.
But that quarterback situation is going to be fascinating. A part of me loves seeing Kirk Cousins got some fight in him still. But you're choosing this fight with Max Crosby, who also wanted his way out and had a botched trade. Maybe that was the one way he was trying to get traded in camp, is have an issue with the interim starting quarterback, right? All part of his plan.
I mean, it's one thing if he's fighting. How much is his surgically repaired Achilles fighting him? Can he still move? Last year at Atlanta did not give me much confidence in his ability to just move around like a professional athlete.
Oh man,
he just doesn't. He doesn't look like the same quarterback, and it's a little unfair because different situations age wise. But it's part of my trepidation on Daniel Jones, to be honest with you. I just generally think that we undersell how big of a recovery process that is for a torn Achilles. And these players that come back really quickly, Ramon, I feel like don't have a great hit rate on looking like themselves athletically after they come back really quickly from a torn Achilles.
It's usually the year after. It's not that year because, I'm not sure if anybody's ever seen that injury up close. It is such one of the most trickiest injuries ever. Yeah. You don't realize what's happened. Right. The person who has it happen to them, they have no idea. So imagine you just a regular run, and next thing you know, you snapped your Achilles.
I've heard it explained like it feels like you've got kicked in your calf, in the back of your calf.
Yeah.
Oof.
On routine stuff, like starting to run.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't realize how fragile it was when it happens, but it is I can see how those guys are most definitely afraid after getting it repaired. And have you seen the repair process?
Yes.
It's like a graphic of it on social media.
Yeah, it's like sewing. It's like knitting. Literally the tendon back together.
Yeah,
I'm
tough.
Good. I'm good.
Yeah.
615-737-1045 is our number. Ramon Foster in California. Myself, Will Bolding here in Nashville. We run through the key matchups in today's Titans 49ers joint practice and preseason game after this. I think maybe if the electrical substation could talk in San Francisco, it would sing this song. It wasn't me. Although it maybe was.
Oh.
And let's hope it doesn't get the Titans today. Joint practices happening today in Santa Clara, California. Ramon Foster will be there. We got one more segment with him before he jets off. Well, I guess you kind of jetted off yesterday. Now you will ride off toward joint practice. Sure.
Bussin'.
There you go.
Yeah.
What matchup are you most interested to watch today, Ramon?
Man, Brock Purdy and his wide receiver core versus this Titans secondary. Seeing what this new outfit looks like for the Titans. Cordell Flott, of course, and Alontae Taylor, those guys. Josh Williams as well. Where's Armani Hooker going to be in this conversation today? Will they be able to back it up? When you look at Marcus Harris and Kevin Winston Jr., I want to see what that secondary looks like against now at this point. Brock Purdy's a veteran starting quarterback in an offense that really seems to always have answers. I kind of want to see how that 7-on-7 looks with those guys, man. I think that is a point. It can be a strong point for the Titans this year as far as the secondary goes, how they will play them. So I'm interested to see how that's going to look over the course of today.
I think the battle, Ramon, over the middle of the 49ers defense against Cam Ward and the Titans passing game is going to be really interesting because Fred Warner still is maybe the best linebacker out there, and at the very least is one of the coverage linebackers in the National Football League right now, playing next to his old friend Dre Greenlaw, who is back in San Francisco after spending time with the Denver Broncos. Mm-hmm. How difficult of a challenge is this for Cam, throwing over the middle against a San Francisco 49ers defense as good over the middle of the field in coverage as anybody?
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing too, man. I don't know how much the 49ers defense is going to change since Coach Saleh isn't there, but I feel like the basics of it is going to be there because, like you said, Fred Warner most definitely been there, and how they operate and how he commands them defensively. How risky will it be with the ball? Because, again, there are times where Cody Barton would get him last year, that is, right? But, this offense has windows, as far as Coach Dable's concerned, almost everywhere. And how do you either get it over the middle or underneath, where you also will? This is the other part of, quarterbacks, checking underneath. You can set your wide receiver up for a kill shot. How does that look? Is one you don't want the stretcher being thrown out there because you as a quarterback are getting greedy. It's oh, this is an easy pass for me. You don't see that safety coming downhill. So I'm with you on that one too. This is a real look as far as thud goes. The aspect is just mostly thud, but these guys will be playing a different scheme when it comes to how you set your guys up for success. I'm 100% with you there.
So earlier in the show, Ramon, I gave a top 5 before you joined us of players who I feel like have the most to gain this week against the San Francisco 49ers. I want to run you through this list. I want you to tell me where you agree or disagree with me.
At the end or after each one?
Up to you. Okay, let's do it as we go. You can either shortly tell me you agree or you can tell me why you wouldn't have that player on your list if you're making a top 5.
Gotcha.
Number 5, I had Cam Ward. I think reading between the lines, my opinion is we won't see a ton of him play Thursday night in the game. But Robert Saleh said months ago during the beginning of the offseason program that his starters are going to play. I think beyond even just the preseason game, I think today's the more important day for the starters because what you're going to see in a game is often way more vanilla from a scheme standpoint than the kitchen sink that can be thrown at you in a joint practice setting like this one. Cam's ability to sustain the 3 really good practices he's had back to back to back against a different defense, throwing different looks at him, I think is interesting to me today. So I think he's on the list. I don't think he's at the top of the list, though, because his job and his role on this team is so set in stone.
I'd say he's definitely on the list. And be quite honest with you, how he started off camp in Nashville, I may have put him higher, but I don't know who the rest of your list is. And only because, again, we mentioned a 68% completion percentage, how good he's been flowing.
Over the last 3 practices. Yep.
Last 3 practices. He had that plays into I guess, understanding, I'd probably put him at 3 just on the basis of that.
Cam
definitely on that list. Yeah, Cam's on that list.
42 of 62, completing 68% of his passes over the last 3 practices. My number 4 was Will Levis. Will Levis has an opportunity to put film out there for teams to see. This is a game setting. This is not practice. This is against a different defense. In theory, he is going up against backups, third strings, and I think he is going to get a lot of snaps. In my opinion, he is going to get a lot of opportunities on Thursday night against the San Francisco 49ers for preseason week 1.
Yeah, it's necessary for us career-wise. As far as team seriousness, I'm not sure if he'd have made my top 5 because I'm sure somebody else I would have put it on there. I'm not writing them off, but I almost feel like at this point it's visual punishment for us at this point.
Well, we may be ready to move on, but he can't move on until he shows something. And so if I'm going to frame this as players with the most to gain, what he can gain is a move to a new role to a different team if he plays well enough.
Yeah, for
sooner rather than later.
I can justify that with you.
Number 3 for me is Anthony Hill Jr. with players who have the most to gain this week. And again, I'll base this off of my general opinion that preseason games give us a much better sample size for guys playing through more contact. Obviously, everyone is playing with physicality and contact. It's football. But linebackers being able to show me that they can tackle a back to the ground, being able to fully take on blocks with offensive linemen that are not holding back anything against you because they can take you to the ground in the run game. It's that first step for Anthony Hill Jr. and a player who Ramon is battling, as you know, for a starting spot. And right now is on the second line of the depth chart. If he wants to become a full-time starter for the Tennessee Titans on defense, I think his ascension could start this week the same way last season during the 10 days the Titans spent away playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Atlanta Falcons. Cedric Gray started to come on at this point of training camp when he could start to show how physical he was and how well he could tackle opposing players.
No doubt about it. And for a guy like him that gets this real NFL opportunity, yeah. And then on top of that too, Will, on just like not even sentimental, I guess is the word I'm looking for, but just as a teacher-student moment, like he gets an opportunity to kind of put this on display for a guy like Fred Warner that's been in his defense. That knows how to move and operate it, man. So yeah, that'll be another good thing too for him is being able to connect with Fred.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that, but you're 100% right. Number 2 is Femi Oladejo. I'm noticing him start to come on a little bit, Ramon. I'm curious if you've kind of seen the same thing. But again, it's in the run game, isn't it? Like
it is.
Femi's best moments right now are as a run defender. And I believe he was drafted to be more than just a run defender. He was drafted to be a pass rusher who defends the run really well. And so every game is just so critical for him. Every practice, every chance to go up against a lineman that's not on his team, that doesn't know his bag or his moves as well. The guy's just not played very much edge rusher, and every chance he gets to practice against somebody else, play against somebody else remote, I think is pivotal in his development as a second-round talent right now.
I will say this, though, too, before he gets his pass rush going. I don't mind him being a run-dominant guy. And I know you don't either, but like you're right. Like the idea that he finds his pass rush on his way is actually, starting with being stout in a run is a good thing for him, because if he can't find the pass rush and he's also lightening behind as far as holding the line of scrimmage too, like that's even more problematic. So if he does one thing as far as just playing bully ball, but finding that against some dudes that don't know his everyday moves, this will be a good week.
And my number 1, Ramon, is an offensive lineman who is starting to emerge a little bit. Fernando Carmona, I think, is the player who could gain the most this week. He got some early reps over the weekend. Fans were in the building to see what he was doing for the blue and white scrimmage. He is putting himself, Ramon, I believe, in a very real battle to start sooner rather than later for the Titans at right guard. I'm not going to say week 1, although I don't think that's out of the question. But I think right now, Ramon, he may have a better shot at right guard than Jackson Slater. Am I off base in assuming that based off of what we've seen so far?
Man, Brian Hopkins and I were talking about this last night. Just the makeup and I guess just the DNA of what you need on an offensive line. Like this strain needs to go here. You got to have this strain to build this up. And we had that conversation last night. And I think we both are of the mindset like, hey, Carmona has something. And like, I'm not putting Jackson Slater in the box whatsoever because he can go and show out in these daggone preseasons. But like roles have to be played, Will. And I know Andre James is here as well, but like when it comes down to Slater's development, I think it's between him and Andre James on who's going to be the interior rotational guy on game day.
I said that too earlier, that I wonder if we start seeing Jackson Slater get some more looks at center and make this just a purely two-man battle at right guard between Cordell Volson and Fernando Carmona.
Yeah. Carmona's number one on my list. I do think there's a lot of opportunity. I think we spoke about this when those two guys, him and Pat Coogan, both got drafted. Will, like, which one of these young guys is going to end up being a starter for you and how early? These joint practices, my suggestion to him, if I'm talking to Carmona, would be they'll be a menace. Like, don't go doing anything after the whistle, but any opportunity you get to finish, to show that level of aggressiveness to help create a bigger identity for this offensive line, the better it's going to be for him, especially since he's younger.
And you said it yesterday, you would have a road grader side on the right, and you would have a bit more of a clean cut, for lack of a better term, side on the left.
Yeah.
Dan Moore and Peter Skoronski are more tame, let's say. Not that they can't be nasty and be aggressive and violent and blocking either, but you would say your bigger-bodied, meaner linemen would be J.C. Latham and Fernando Carmona together.
Yes.
Just in playing style purely, not as people. Like, we're just talking about as offensive linemen.
I mean, your tone setters.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with any one of the personalities, but I do think you need a tone setter or two. Like the one that, if I'm getting in trouble, I know you're going to get in trouble with me. Like that, you need that. You need that. Absolutely, you need that.
And one can feed off the other when you have those two playing beside each other, I would imagine as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I'm into it. I do think there's a lot on the bone for him, man. If he can escape mental errors, if he can escape, doing something dumb after the play, he got a real nice pathway into being, well, I'm not afraid to say an opening day starter.
I'm not either.
I
think it's on the table. I do.
Okay. All right.
It would surprise me, but I think anything's possible right now. I think it's going to be either Cordell Volson or Fernando Carmona. From what I have seen so far, you notice Carmona out there, don't you? When he's in,
do.
like he is a bigger bodied player, and Volson is too. To be fair, Volson is a big guard, and Carmona is too. But I mean, again, go look at the Titans' social media on who's celebrating with Gunnar Helm on the touchdown drive the Titans went on in the blue and white scrimmage. And there you go. That's the opportunity that Fernando Carmona is getting. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you there. Again, and there are 3 games that got to be played and probably, 20 more practices that have to be laid out for this squad. But they have a plethora of guys at a couple positions that need to – honestly, this is the old Joker meme. When he breaks the pool stick, like one of y'all gonna make it out. Like that's what camp is. Only amendment I'd have made to your list would be the backup tackle. Like looking at Austin Deculus and Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon.
Sure,
I could have moved Cam or Levis out and put those two in as a 1-to-1 slot.
That's fair. That's very fair. Justin's honorable mention was Carnell Tate. I'm just so confident in what Carnell Tate already is that I don't need to see much more, honestly. I know you and I feel the same way about this, and I'm glad Steve Palazzolo said, nope, get excited now. You have freedom to be hype right now.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
That's exactly how I feel. Like I hate to put the wide receiver on the pedestal, but I'm kind of putting them.
I know. I'm with you.
We're kind of putting him on the pedestal with this one. I'm okay with that.
And he's earned it, I would say, to this point. Have fun at practice. Enjoy. You are off to see the practice and make sure you've got some like electromagnetic something to block the substation. We don't want you having a hamstring injury either when you come back.
I might go, find some aluminum foil to wrap my knees.
Yeah, that'd be smart. That'd be really smart. I'm sure they could room service that up to you also. Hi, hello, yes, I'm in room, whatever your room number is. I'm not even going to give a fake one because I don't want people knocking on whatever door. Hi, yes, I'm in room. Can you bring me some aluminum foil? I'm scared of a substation that's crap-talking San Francisco 49ers players on Twitter because they're all hurt because of it. Thanks. Hangs up phone.
And by the way, the comebacks from this substation is hilarious.
Oh, it's so funny.
By the way.
It is so funny.
It shouldn't be this funny, but it is.
All right, well, we will... I'll talk to you tomorrow. I will also see you tomorrow.
You will, man, and I'll report back to you tomorrow. I'm supposed to be talking to Big Sco, Peter Skoronski, after practice today as well, so I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Do we have that confirmed?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Big Sco, Peter Skoronski on the show this week. I believe you will hear from him Thursday here on the program, but we will circle up and we'll actually produce the show off air and talk about that as well. So enjoy, have fun. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you for holding it down, man. Let me go out here and put my small J journalist hat on.
I love it. Sports entertainer Ramon Foster off to practice to watch the Titans and Niners. We wrap up the show here in studio in Nashville after this.
A day at the spa, the perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, or any occasion. Lavish and luxurious, yet affordable. A grand gesture, yet simple for you. The gift card from A Moment's Peace. Give her the gift she won't buy herself. An escape, a bit of luxury. Something special that shows more than just words. A gift from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall. Call 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com anytime.
Wrapping up the show on Ramon and Will. Buck Rising is also in California and will be ready to go with Lucas Panzica and Robert Walsh, who has also returned. Coming up here in just a few moments. On 3 with a top 25 preseason poll this morning. This is the On 3 preseason poll. Where do you think Tennessee ranks, Justin, in the On 3 preseason college football top 25?
Is it fair if I already know?
No. You already know that it's not a guess. Number 20 for Tennessee.
I saw it earlier.
I think that's about right for a preseason poll.
Honestly, I thought they were being closer, like at 25 or so like that. Just barely squeaking in.
I think 20 is about right. I think there's just so many experienced players coming back on offense. If this defense can just be from the halfway point to what it was last season to being a real Jim Knowles defense, I think Tennessee is probably an 8-win team.
Yeah,
I think that's the world we're going to live in. I think it's a good offense. Somebody's going to be good at quarterback, and the defense is going to be solid but not great yet.
For me, it just starts around the quarterback because I think that's how their rankings are viewed in the SEC power rankings as well. Is, what are they at quarterback, and then the rest of the team kind of figures itself out.
Yeah,
you look at the defense, how do they get after the quarterback? But if you look at the 21 through 25, I don't really see Tennessee being below them.
I'm just not really worried about quarterback.
Which is a good thing.
I'm interested to see who it is.
The edge rushers.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I think Josh Heupel's always going to figure it out. His track record is proven. He's just always going to make it work at quarterback. Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Texas 3, Georgia 4, Notre Dame 5. Notre Dame, a very popular national championship pick this year. Very popular. So Alabama 14, interesting to me. That's an interesting team entering this season. Top 10 teams of the SEC on 3's ranking. Texas 3, Georgia 4, Oklahoma 8, Ole Miss 9, A&M 10. LSU checking in at number 12. I thought this kind of baited and switched me at first. I did think this was the AP poll coming out, and I got very excited. But I don't think that is out quite yet.
Yeah, probably, first week?
I believe
Or
going
like
into
right
week 0, we should have an AP poll.
So about 2 weeks?
We're almost back. Ooh. Tomorrow, Ramon will have takeaways from joint practice, and we will be on game day eve of the Titans preseason. We will talk to you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. The Buck Rising Show is next.